It's time for another Broken Plane podcast, coming to you from the Pod Shed in Tigard, Oregon, with your hosts TK and JB.
Welcome to the Broken Plane Podcast, Season 2, Episode 19, Preseason Week 3.
That's right.
I'm JB.
And I'm TK.
TK, how you doing?
Doing great. I'm thankful that the heat is gone, at least for the time being.
It's been nice. Now if we could just get the smoke to come out of the air.
We need some rain.
Then it would be perfect. We need some Oregon weather is what we need. We're getting close. It's August. So
2 more months.
Yeah, 2 more months and then the rains come and then we'll be happy again.
Yeah. Until
then, should we jump right in? We got a lot to cover.
We do. We're going to start right off the bat with Twitter Fan of the Week.
Twitter Fan of the Week.
This week, it's none other than at Gridiron Orange, Thomas Hall. Yeehaw! Thomas is an analyst and writer for Mile High Huddle, which is a division of the 24/7 Sports network of news, sports news.
You're giving Twitter Fan of the Week to an actual writer.
Yeah, and a Bronco fan in honor of the AFC West
Solid.
preview that we're doing. He can listen to this and then tell us why we're wrong about the Broncos.
There'll be quite a few reasons probably why we're wrong about the Broncos.
The Mile High Huddle's got a pretty nice Twitter page too. I like what they're putting out. Lots of Denver Broncos info if you're interested in the Broncos or just interested in learning about the game in general, because they got some good stuff. They do game film, X's and O's, scouting the NFL draft, and in-depth Denver Broncos coverage.
Nice.
So give them a follow. That's at Mile High Huddle. And once again, our fan of the week is Thomas Hall at Gridiron Orange. Give him a follow too, everybody.
Woo!
And that's that. Short and sweet.
Not bad.
Thank you, Thomas.
Not bad at all. How about the great big Broken Plane Fantasy Football League?
That's right. It's almost here. September 1st is draft day.
Saturday,
September 1st. We have almost everybody in there that we need. We had a new member join today.
Nice.
I forget his Twitter handle, but he's a friend of Austin, our buddy Austin, that's in the league. And so there's one spot left. It's time. The time is now. If you want in, we ordered the coasters. Everybody who entered the league and feels comfortable giving us their address will receive a set of 4 cork coasters with the custom, made by me, the Broken Plane logo.
It's classy.
Yeah.
It's really nice. It's
clean. It's not too busy.
It came up sweet. It was pretty cool.
I like it.
Yeah.
Just black on the cork. If you want those and a shot at a bunch of other prizes if you win the league, let us know on Twitter, email us, however you want to contact us. Let us know you want in. There's one spot left, and we will have you. If you will have us,
but for Shiggles,
Faux Shiggles
at Faux Shiggles is the newest member of the league. That's not bad. That's a pretty good handle.
I like it.
All right.
Yeah. So if you do want to contact us and let us know that you want to be in the Great Big Broken Plane Fantasy Football League, get yourself some coasters and possibly win something else, you can get us on Twitter at The Broken Plane. You can send us an email at thebrokenplanepod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, The Broken Plane NFL Podcast. We're on Instagram, but I'm not checking it, so you can't find us there.
And I imagine if you leave some kind of a comment on YouTube, you can find us on YouTube,
or if you leave a comment on our blog page,
yep,
we can get you in that way too.
Yep, we do check. There's a lot of things that we check,
and we get notifications for it all too. So there you go. Do that.
Before we get started on the team breakdowns, I just wanted to say that over this last weekend, I drove down to Lake Tahoe and back.
Oh yeah, party.
Yeah, not exactly.
Not a party?
Not so much for me. I'm dropping my kid off. He's going to go to school down there.
Nice.
And he was very excited about it, but it meant that I had to deadhead back by myself, and I ended up listening to podcasts because that's you have 10 hours in the car. That's what you do. I just want to give a quick shout out to the DTR guys, Downtown Rams. I checked them out.
Yeah,
they had some good stuff. The Half a Bird Sports Show. With Jimmy and Jay.
Those guys are great.
That was a lot of fun. Again, if you haven't checked them out, their intros are fantastic.
Yeah.
Go give them a listen. And Blitzed NFL.
Of course.
And
those guys are great on Twitter.
Those guys are hysterical on Twitter.
They're good. They got a good podcast too.
The last podcast that I heard from them, they were in their training camp for the season.
Wow.
And they had a 30-minute show. They did a shot every 3 minutes.
Wow.
Yes, it was very impressive.
Were they blitzed
impressive
by the end, or were they in mid-season form?
It was getting a little loose.
Okay.
It's getting a little loose towards the end there. It was fantastic, though. Well done, everybody. Yeah, no, there's a lot of talent out there.
Go check those guys out. They're all good listens after you listen to us. Something to cleanse the palate.
So do you want to jump right in?
Yeah, we should get started.
First up, we're going to be starting with the AFC West.
That's right.
And we will start with the Los Diego San Angeles Chargers.
You said it.
The coaching staff in Los Diego, San Angeles, Anthony Lynn, head coach, Ken Wisenhunt, offensive coordinator, and Gus Bradley is there as defensive coordinator. That's the same unit that was there last year.
Right.
And where did you want to start?
Let's start with Phillip Rivers.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll give him a start. San Diego Chargers, the Chargers, the Los Angeles Chargers have, do you know they have a one playoff appearance since 2010? And we were talking about Phillip Rivers, and, obviously the same draft class as Eli Manning and Ben Roethlisberger.
Yeah.
Roethlisberger's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
So
and
does
Eli
Eli.
Manning has 2 because obviously he's a Hall of Fame player too, right?
No doubt.
No doubt. And Phillip Rivers has
none.
Has none.
Does he have a playoff win?
He does.
He does. Okay.
He has a few.
He's done a little bit.
He has a few playoff wins, but since 2010, the Chargers are 60-68.
Ooh, that's worse than I would have guessed.
It's not great, right? I mean, you would expect him to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've got down here, one of the questions I have, is he elite? Would you put him in that tier 1 group of quarterbacks?
How many are we talking for tier 1?
Well,
because obviously he's not
32. Let's say there's 32 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. So top.
How many tiers do you want to break the 32 starting quarterbacks in any given season into?
How about 8?
8
tiers.
Okay, then no.
So is he part of the first 4?
Probably not.
Okay, is he part of the second 4?
Fringe. It depends.
It depends.
It might.
Okay.
Probably not. He might be top of tier 3.
Top of tier 3.
I think it depends on what season we're looking at too. If we're looking at over the last 10 years.
Well, I was looking back to 2010.
Okay.
That I cherry picked that date because that's when they really started to be bad. They were before that they were actually
when they
pretty
had LaDainian
good.
Tomlinson too.
Yeah. And you can tell when LT retired. It's like oh there it is right there, and it just dropped off.
Offensive ranks went down the pooper.
Yep. But here's the thing: Phillip Rivers in his last 14 seasons, he's going into his 15th season.
Mm-hmm.
He's thrown for more than 4,000 yards 9 times.
Right.
Including 7 of 8 since 2010. So in this time when they've been bad, he's thrown for more than 4,000 yards per year. He's been over 60% completions every year as a starter.
Wow.
And he's got a 2-to-1 touchdown to interception.
He throws a lot of touchdowns.
He does.
And he has
ratio.
He does have a pretty good interception clip. It's sometimes it creeps up there a little bit, but most seasons it's fairly respectable.
Most seasons, and like I said, career-wise, it's 2-to-1.
Yeah.
So
I think those numbers put him in the 3rd tier of quarterbacks, but as far as performance goes, he doesn't get it done. Obviously, a lot.
No, but would you rather have him on your team or Eli Manning?
Phillip.
But Eli Manning's got 2 Super Bowl rings.
Yeah, but they had a lot more going on than just Eli.
Phillip Rivers had LaDainian Tomlinson. That's pretty good.
I think the New York's defense was significantly better.
Okay, I'll buy that.
But it's San Diego and now Los Angeles for a long time have underachieved basically with really no excuse because they've had a lot of good players. Throughout the course of time.
This year again, they've been slapped by the injury bug.
Definitely. ACL tears everywhere. They even got a Achilles injury out of Jason Verrett.
Yep.
Their cornerback that hasn't played but 3 games in the last 3 seasons or something like that.
That's tough, right?
Yeah.
And then if you look in the secondary, Trevor Williams has been hurt this year in training camp. Casey Hayward pulled a hammy, and they're due to come back. But I mean, still, the secondary has just been decimated. And then there was Hunter Henry, the tight end,
of course,
with the ACL. Like
finally ready to have full reign of the tight end game. And they got rid of Gates, and then Hunter gets hurt.
Yeah,
and they still haven't brought Gates back though. Though I hear this is the only team he wants to play for, so they're maybe negotiating and trying to work something out to bring him back because they haven't brought anybody else in either.
It's kind of a weird thing because if you look and see who they have on the roster at tight end, they need somebody.
They definitely do.
The only guy I saw was Virgil Green, who used to play for the Broncos,
right?
And he's been a Bronco. He was a Bronco for quite a while. But the thing with Virgil Green is that he averages less than a catch a game.
Does not do much in the passing game. In
100 games, he's caught like 43.
That's not good, JB.
And last year, he started all 16 games, 14 catches, 191 yards.
Ouch.
He started.
Yeah.
He started all 16.
He must. I don't know much about him. I know his name. He must be a blocker.
Well, and that's good for Melvin Gordon.
Yeah.
Melvin Gordon's going to love that.
Yeah.
And Melvin Gordon is he's been going off this preseason.
He's been great.
Yeah.
I want him to do better. I feel like he's just on the cusp of being one of those top 5 running backs in the league. And he doesn't get it done for me because his yards per carry is kind of low. He's never been over 4, and I want him to get there this year. And I know last year there was a little bit of talk of Anthony Lynn, the head coach, bringing in. He really liked the zone blocking scheme for his offensive line. And I think they implemented it. I wasn't really able to find much on it, so I don't know exactly what happened with it all, but I assume he implemented it, and I assume it didn't go great, partially because they didn't have the strongest of offensive lines, and also partially because Melvin Gordon didn't average over 4 yards per carry. And I think if you get that offensive line in sync and knowing where they're supposed to block at all times, that opens up better gaps for Melvin, and he can basically get more yards.
Yeah,
I would imagine, because I think he's got the talent to do it, but I don't know. He must be getting contacted behind the line of scrimmage a lot more than other running backs. And I think I have some stats here on that, actually. I do. I forgot. I put those in my notes. I was looking at Football Outsiders, and they have, for last year, they have 2 categories that interested me. One of them was power running for the offensive line rank. They ranked 25th in power running, which is specified as runs that are on 3rd or 4th down, fewer than 2 yards. So like 3rd and 2, 4th and 2.
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
That type of thing. Also 1st and 2nd down if it's at the goal.
Okay.
So 1st and 2 and goal. They only had success getting a first down or a touchdown 58% of the time, which was 25th in the league. So they were pretty bad at that. So the offensive line wasn't really doing their job in those short down situations. The other stat that I liked was the stuffed rank, which is when a running back is tackled at or behind the line of scrimmage. They ranked 26th in that aspect of the game. Mm-hmm. So I guess, like I said earlier, that's why I had it in my mind. Melvin Gordon was being touched up a little bit and not really given a chance to get to the second level and open things up.
You know what? That's a really interesting stat. And the Chargers went out after the Dolphins released Mike Pouncey.
Right.
The Chargers scooped him up.
That'll help.
And I've got to think that that particular stat has a lot to do with the interior line.
Mm-hmm. He's a center?
Yeah, because that's where you would typically go on short yardage. You would typically go between the tackles, up the middle. And Pouncey is fierce. That guy is money.
Exactly.
One of the best centers in the league. To pick him up, for the Dolphins to drop him was so weird. It was like, why would you do that?
Dolphins did some weird stuff.
They dropped Sue, and then they dropped Pouncey. It's like they're just giving up this year. Just because we don't really care. We're playing for the draft pick, and
I guess
you can do that in the NBA, I guess, but it seems weird to do it in the NFL.
Like I said, hockey. Teams gave up in the AFC East. They're waiting until Brady quits.
Could be.
Yeah,
could be. But
they also get Forrest Lamp back, who they drafted last year, and as the Chargers do, lost somebody important for the season.
Who's that?
He's I forget if he's a tackle or a guard, but
okay.
They drafted him last year, yeah. So he'll come back, and hopefully he's good because he's a high draft pick. So
they've got some talent.
Yes,
they've got some talent on the offensive side of the ball. So there is hope if you are a Chargers fan.
I really do like their wide receivers too. They've got Keenan Allen, who of course is amazing.
Yeah.
They've got Tyrell Williams, who I like a lot. He's done pretty well, and then Mike Williams, who they drafted last year, another guy who suffered through injuries all of last year, a back injury, and I think later on he picked up a knee injury later in the season. Mm-hmm. So he didn't get to – I don't think he did much at all last year. But he's looked really good in training camp this year, and he's big. He's like Mike Evans type size, so he's a jump ball type of catcher. That should be good. And then they've got Travis Benjamin, who's just like a deep burner who can at least open things up even if he's not that good.
With Allen and Williams both going for over 1,000 yards and with the rest of the receivers that they have – that will help them not having a great pass-catching tight end.
Exactly.
Also with Phillip Rivers, who has a big arm, he's able to make throws to the outside. He's not as
reliant.
As reliant as just those quick over-the-middle throws that tight ends usually run. That's usually a tight end route.
Exactly.
I think that'll help Hunter Henry, or I think that'll help get through not having a tight end like Hunter Henry.
Exactly. Let's get into the defense real quick before we move on.
Let's get into the defense.
Do you like their defense this year?
You know what? I didn't before we started doing research.
Okay.
But now that I've had a chance to look at it, they're pretty stacked defensively.
I really like a lot of their players on defense.
I mean, the two ends they got Bosa on one side and Ingram on the other.
Right.
Right? And that's 22 sacks, right?
They're both monsters.
Yeah. And the linebacking core, not much to speak of, but they picked up possibly my favorite non-quarterback in the draft, which is Derwin James. That guy is going to be fantastic.
I read a little comparison to him about he might be a little bit like Cam Chancellor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he's got some size. He's in there in the free safety spot. And I think they also kind of leaned in that direction, Cam Chancellor, because Gus Bradley is their defensive coordinator, which is where Cam Chancellor started out with in Seattle, was with Gus.
Yeah.
And I think they kind of envision him hopefully being used the same way and developing along that same career path, except for the whole retiring after 7 years.
That part was a downer. Yeah, as a Seahawks fan, that is a downer. I thought they were going to look at him at free safety. But he can play either position.
Yeah, maybe they will. I'm not
it's
clear on that.
He can, like I said, he's going to be fantastic, and he's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And as long as they play him so he's coming downhill to the ball, that's going to be great.
Yes.
The better than I thought. Better than I thought when I looked.
Right.
When in my head, the Chargers are bad. All they do is lose.
Because 9-7 every year.
Yeah.
Or worse, apparently.
For if the Chargers are so good, why do they lose all the time?
Yeah.
That's my life.
What's mind-boggling to me.
And kind of, kind of feels like this year maybe they won't.
It feels like the AFC West is a little more wide open than it's been in years past.
Maybe.
So that might be part of it.
Yeah. Should we do predictions?
Let's do it.
I've got them at 10-6.
That's where I have them too.
Not bad.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good mark.
I think it is. I think that's good enough for playoffs. Well, I mean,
I think it's
usually
good enough. Is it? Yeah, and I think
usually 10 wins is good for the playoffs.
Usually 10 wins gets it done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unless something really squirrely happens somewhere else. Is that going to be the division winner?
For me, it is.
I think it is going to be for me too. If I'm remembering correctly from these picks that I did. Okay, next up, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Patrick Mahomes-led Kansas City Chiefs.
Wow.
This is going to be fun. Head coach, Andy Reid. New offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, blast from the past.
I like that name.
It's a great name, and he was a great running back in the day. Defensive coordinator is Bob Sutton.
Okay. He stuck around, right?
Yes, I think he's a holdover from last year.
Yeah, and Bieniemy was their running backs coach last year, so he's been with the team for, 5 years now?
He's been with the team for a while, and before that, he's been coaching for years and years. I remember watching him as a player back in the 80s, I think.
Sounds
right. Late 80s, early 90s. And he's been coaching ever since his playing days, pretty much. Yeah. So he's been a gradual progression. He looks like a guy who's right on time.
Good.
So that'll be fun to watch.
What do you think about Patrick Mahomes?
Man, you know what? You are clearly going to have to put him in as a rookie quarterback this year. You're going to have to think of him as a rookie quarterback.
Right. He made the Week 17 start last year, and that was it, basically.
Yeah. But did you see that 70-yard bomb he threw up?
Yes, that was amazing.
And he did it with guys at his feet.
Yep.
And the ball went up, and I think he might have pushed the throw farther outside because the receiver had to turn and look for it.
Yeah, he was tracking the ball well. It was to Tyreek Hill.
It was to Tyreek Hill. Yeah. I was gonna say it looked like it was a starter. You know what? It almost makes me not care about how they do if we could see 3 of those a day.
Right.
Week. That would be.
That's 21 points.
That's pretty sweet, right?
It was, I have to say, because this is impressive to me. He threw the ball at his own 25-yard line. Tyreek caught it at the 6.
Yeah.
So that feels like basically the whole field.
That's pretty much.
It's pretty much the whole field. It's 60, 70 yards.
Yeah. I mean, there's probably 7 guys in the league that can make that throw. Standing still, I guess he stepped into it.
Oh yeah, so it was definitely a law. He hauled off and chucked that sucker, but he still did it.
It
didn't look that overworked.
No, it was pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
I want him to do well. I'm not sure he's going to.
He was my homie last year. I thought, because I hate Alex Smith, I thought my homie was going to get in there and rock
did not.
things. No,
you got to worry. That's got to make you wonder a little bit, though. He wasn't able to beat Alex Smith out.
But Alex had a career year last year.
He did, but
they didn't know that going in.
Did he in practice every week?
I think you can still see this year in training camp, Mahomes has been throwing a lot of interceptions.
Okay.
He's had 8 interceptions in, I think it was 7 training camp, joint team practices or just intra-team practices, and then he also threw 1 pick in one of the preseason games.
Well, and he tried to throw another one in the end zone in that same game. Well, I think it's going to be feast or famine with him. It's kind of what it feels like, which is weird. It's kind of weird that Andy Reid would put up with that, because as a quarterback, he's a quarterback's coach, and you would think he'd be able to kind of smooth that out of.
He sees something
player.
In him.
Well, he's got all kinds of talent. I mean, look at him. The guy is gifted.
He's oozing talent.
He is oozing talent.
He's big, too. I like that. He's bigger than I thought he was. He's 6'3" and 220 or something, I think. Sounds right. Believe me.
I'll believe you. I'm with you. Which is funny to me because when I first saw him, I was thinking like 6 foot, like 200.
Right.
But he is significantly larger than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes is really going to be a really interesting player to watch this year. What do you think about the running backs? Because Kareem Hunt last year as a rookie.
Exactly. The running back situation is kind of interesting to me. Like you said, Kareem Hunt comes out of nowhere, basically. I think maybe a few Chiefs fans could legitimately say, I knew he was good, but I don't think anybody really could, because everybody was expecting Spencer Ware, who had kind of finished strong in 2016 and then tears his ACL. So then Spencer Ware has to come in and be the guy, and shows off immediately in week 1 against New England that he's the real deal. But now Spencer Ware's healthy, and he's the type of guy that wants to be the number 1 back, so he's going to be competing hard for that spot. And I'm kind of curious what happens with those two guys if they split carries, or what Bieniemy and Reed do if they agree to timeshare it, or if they give one guy the lead spot and another guy just has to kind of sit back and accept 10 carries a game.
Yeesh. I mean, for a team, it's a good problem to have, but that's rough for the guy who ends up sitting.
Mm-hmm.
I think, I think Kareem Hunt did enough to earn the job.
Definitely.
So
he's going to have to lose it.
Yeah, I think that's going to be what it comes down to. But having Spencer Ware as a backup, a healthy Spencer Ware as a backup, I think is great. Also, you know what? Ware tore. He really the injury was huge. It was an MCL and a PCL, and that was only a year ago. And especially in running backs, in people who run, that injury seems to take a little bit longer. It's a year to come back, and then it's another year before you're
get that explosiveness.
Yeah, or maybe it's just a matter of trusting it. Maybe it's another year before you are like right.
Yeah, because usually when running or when the quarterbacks come back from this, they've got a brace on their knee, and it doesn't matter so much because they're just dropping back and not doing anything too outstanding. But the running backs,
do
they put the brace on? I don't know if they do. I think they just kind of.
You don't see many of them do it.
I don't notice it.
Yeah. Well, I know the braces that they used to have were, I remember back in the bad old days, you'd see guys with braces, and the brace would bend.
Yeah.
And that's like, oh, goodness gracious.
That's happened to Flacco a couple of times, because that dude is not graceful.
Oh, it's terrible.
He slides, and then he digs it into the turf, and he just looks like a complete moron.
But
anyway,
if you're counting on it, though.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if you wear the brace or.
You're right. I don't think they do, though. He'll just have to trust it. Maybe he does.
So we talked a little bit about Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
Who was great last year. A lot of fun to watch. He's got a new running mate on the other side that came over.
Smoking Sammy Watkins.
From the Rams.
Yeah.
What do you think about Sammy Watkins?
Perfect number 2 guy. Possession receiver. Doesn't have to be leaned on like he was in Buffalo. He did great in Los Angeles. He didn't really do a lot, but what he did great.
Did he?
Yeah.
Are you okay with Sammy Watkins?
He didn't drop a ball in Los Angeles last year.
You are a Sammy Watkins apologist, aren't you?
Now that he's out of Buffalo, yes. Yeah. San Balta Buffalo.
You know what? Here's the thing about Sammy Watkins, because I used to think when he was in Buffalo, there's a receiver. That guy's pretty good.
Yeah.
And then he went to L.A., and I was thinking, hey, that guy's pretty good. And then he didn't do anything. I was like, well...
Yeah, I was surprised at how little he was utilized in that, and I don't know if it was him not picking up the system, him not being as good as he seemed to be, or McVay just choosing not to use him, or what. Here's
a stat that really jumped out at me. I was looking at Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill's catch rate is right around 75%.
Wow.
Which is that's pretty good. Sammy Watkins has a career catch rate of 55%.
Ooh.
And he's only been up over 60% once. That was his second year in Buffalo.
Okay. But like we said, Buffalo.
Yes,
That's
Buffalo.
a lot of badly thrown balls.
But in Los Angeles last year, and the Rams ran a fairly efficient offense.
Right.
He was still at 50%.
He was still low. Interesting.
He was like 52%. I don't. You know what? I'm calling caca on Sammy Watkins.
Okay.
Not a good receiver.
Interesting.
So I don't understand why you would pay money to bring him in.
The amount that they
did.
paid anyway.
Yeah. So I don't quite understand. It was just money, right? It was free agent money. He went as a free agent. It wasn't a trade.
Yeah, because his contract was expiring, and
Yeah.
everybody said, well, maybe this deal isn't so great for Los Angeles because they're going to have to bring him back, and there's no guarantee he comes back. He didn't come back, but they didn't pay for him.
Which is better.
They paid for Brandon Cooks instead. Go Beefs.
Well, I'm not sure. We're going to talk about that later. Okay, yes.
Also, Travis Kelce is really good at tight end.
Travis Kelce is great at tight end.
Yeah.
And we should concentrate more on there than we should Sammy Watkins.
We should have, but I didn't write anything for it because it's a foregone conclusion that he's good, and I don't need to. I don't need to prove it to anybody who's listening.
You do not
you can
at
just
all.
Believe me, he's good.
Hear me now, believe me later.
Yeah. Watch Kansas City, be impressed by Travis Kelce, be attracted to Travis Kelce because he's sexy.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
One thing I will say about the tight end position, there's no depth.
No.
So if something happens, God forbid.
He's gotten hurt before, too.
Yeah. If something happens to him.
Full. Yeah.
There's nobody else there.
Tony G, where are you?
And Virgil Green is he's busy catching.
Gates is open though.
He's busy not catching balls in San Diego.
Gates has too much loyalty to go to Kansas City.
Or Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Gates wouldn't go to Kansas City.
No,
wouldn't happen. Did you have anything you want to talk about on the defensive side of the ball?
I like their defense.
Okay.
I like that they picked up Kendall something or other. Kendall Fuller.
Kendall Fuller
from Washington for Alex Smith. That was a good pull. I like that they were able to get something for Alex Smith.
They were able
that
to
was
flip
impressive.
Alex Smith for a starting cornerback?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they needed the upgrade there, especially since they got rid of
Marcus Peters.
Marcus Peters, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'll work out for him. I don't think there's much of a downgrade in the secondary because of that. I've been hearing good things about Breland Speaks, who I also really like that name. He was their rookie. I think he's a linebacker.
I don't have anything.
They picked him up this year. He's been looking good. I don't have much about him, but I've been kind of paying attention to him because I saw a lot of Chiefs fans were excited about him, and he looks good. So there's that.
Okay. They did. I think they kind of reached at middle linebacker, not middle linebacker. Excuse me, inside linebacker. They picked up Anthony Hitchens.
Oh, okay. I like that guy.
No, I like him too, but check this out. They paid him.
Oh, in the money aspect.
Yeah, they signed him 5 years, $45 million.
Oh, okay.
He's an inside linebacker. I mean, this isn't a quarterback.
They have money to spend though too.
I mean, okay,
obviously,
maybe they've got to spend. I think our friend.
It's a 5-year deal though. You said.
Yeah.
So okay, they went long on that one.
It's a 5-year deal, $14 million signing bonus, $21.5 million fully guaguaranteed.
Oh, wow.
Over the first 2 years.
Okay.
So after 2 years, they can get out of it.
Yeah.
Probably. But still, I think Brett Veach has just had it. I was reading that Brett Veach had been trying to trade for him for quite some time.
Right, because it was kind of obvious that Dallas wasn't keeping him.
Yeah, and then he wasn't able to do that, so
Yeah.
he just went out in free agency and just threw a Brinks truck at the guy.
I'm making sure that I get you.
And they got him.
Yeah.
So, good. Now he's got to pay off.
I think it's got a good chance that it will.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, what do you have for predictions for the Chiefs?
Kansas City. Now, I've just talked really good about Kansas City.
You have.
But I have them at 7-9. And I have a reason for that.
Okay.
As much as we all want Patrick Mahomes to do well, I think he's going to have good stats. But the interceptions are troubling me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wonder if he's going to cost his team some games. Maybe not at the end of games, but I think he'll give up the ball a little bit more than Alex Smith did, which was only like 7 times or something last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I worry that takes the Chiefs out of the running for some of these games because they end up with a possibly negative turnover ratio.
You're wondering if that's going to happen?
Yeah.
Let me just go ahead and say yes, that's going to happen.
Patrick
for
Mahomes
sure.
isn't going to be the rookie quarterback that comes in and sets the world on fire.
No, he is.
He is.
He is.
Okay.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if he threw for 4,500 yards and 20 touchdowns and also had 25 picks. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Right? I think in today's NFL, even though there are 2 running backs on the team that are great, in today's NFL, it's still all about what the quarterback can do.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be a lot of pressure put on him to perform. I think he's got all the tools to perform, and I also think that he is careless enough at this point in his career to cause turnovers.
They're just going to mess up sometimes.
Yeah.
He'll learn.
Or he won't, and either way, it's going to be great to watch.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I've got them at 6-10.
Okay.
And embarrassingly enough, I've got them starting off the season 0-4.
0-3 for me.
So I apologize, Chiefs fans. If you want to throw, I don't know,
We don't hate
fruit.
the Chiefs. We just
no.
It's just I don't know if I trust the rookie quarterback.
Yeah, it's gonna be rough with Mahomes. It's gonna be rough, and also I'm a little bit of a victim now because as we've done all of these predictions.
You also don't like Sammy.
I don't like Sammy at all.
Yeah.
No. The Chiefs have other receivers though, and they'll be fine.
Yeah.
And they got Travis Kelce. And it's gonna be fine. Offensively, you guys are gonna be a lot of fun to watch. But you're not gonna win many games, and that's just the way that's gonna be. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fun.
It happens.
Yeah. Next year will be better. You get a good draft pick, and fun things will happen.
Yeah.
Okay, next up.
Denver Broncos, Vance Joseph, head coach. Bill Musgrave, offensive coordinator.
Go Ducks.
Joe Woods, defensive coordinator. Same group as last year as well. Despite the 5-11 showing, sticking with the guys.
Elway took a look at 5-11, said, yep, those are my guys right there.
Yeah.
That's them.
Old horse mouth.
Old horse face, yep.
Horse face, yeah, there you go.
Bill Musgrave, as an offensive coordinator, I'm a Ducks guy, and I like Bill Musgrave. Not sure he's the best fit here for this group.
Uninspiring.
Yeah. He got canned in Oakland last year, and then he found a home in Denver. I don't know why, because Denver and Oakland routinely swap coaches. That's just what they do. Going back to Mike Shanahan, and before him, there were coaches that were moving back and forth. The big news for the Broncos this offseason was the signing of Case Keenum.
They got themselves a franchise quarterback.
An actual, factual franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
Even though Case Keenum, let's be honest now, is not a starting NFL quarterback, let alone a franchise NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
Were you as confused as I was by that whole kind of quarterback frenzy at the opening of free agency?
Uh-huh.
That was weird, right?
Yeah.
It seems like a lot of money was spent on a guy who really shouldn't have got past New Orleans in the playoffs last year.
Yeah. I mean, he did enough to get there, but...
And then got killed against the Eagles.
A real defense.
Yeah. And I understand that the Denver only paid him for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And really,
that's good.
If you look at it, it's 2 years, it's $36 million. It's not even huge money.
Yeah.
So that's probably fine, but I was surprised.
Placeholder, yeah.
Placeholder for who, though?
For a player to be named later.
Because I've got a guy.
You do?
I've got a guy, and he's on their roster right now.
Really?
2017, Mr. Irrelevant,
which
is that's the last person picked in the NFL draft, was Chad Kelly,
Ooh.
Jim Kelly's nephew.
Oh,
and if you remember Chad Kelly's story, you may not. He was in 2014. He was a 4-star high school recruit, and he goes to Clemson. And while he's at Clemson, he doesn't get to play much. And then during a spring practice or a spring game, I forget which one it was, he ended up screaming at the coaching staff, and they kicked him off the team. Said, "You have to leave now."
Nice.
And so he went out. Later that fall, he got into a bar fight, and then later after that, he rushed his brother's high school team's game. His brother got tackled out of bounds, and there was a big brawl going on.
Jumped over the fence.
He rushed over to try to help out. Yeah, it was a great story.
I like this guy. He's got fire.
Anyway, he goes to Eastern Mississippi Community College. If you watched Last Chance U on Netflix,
I did not.
That school.
They followed him.
They didn't follow him. That was a couple of years before they got there, I think.
Oh, okay.
But he was there, won a national JUCO championship at Eastern Mississippi Community College.
Something to sneeze at.
Ole Miss scoops him up. And Hugh Freeze, who is a dirtbag, but Hugh Freeze, the head coach of Ole Miss, really stuck his neck out for this guy because he's got a bit of a history, a little bit of a loose cannon.
A little bit of a Jameis Winston.
But he came back and he played really well at Ole Miss. And he played in his junior year. In his senior year, he kind of backslid a little bit. It really wasn't as much his fault as there just wasn't a lot of talent around him at Ole Miss.
The old Josh Allen argument.
Yes, exactly, except at a Power 5 conference school instead of Wyoming.
Yeah.
But anyway, he gets drafted last year at the last pick in the draft, right? And this is Jim Kelly's nephew. Mm-hmm. He has all kinds of arm talent. I mean, the guy can make every throw you want him to make.
He's been showing well in preseason, I think, too, right? They've been kind of talking about him.
He passed Paxton Lynch for the backup job. Now, Paxton Lynch...
I passed Paxton Lynch for the backup job the other day, too.
Paxton Lynch was drafted in the first round 2016.
Yeah.
And he's been kind of backsliding ever since. But Chad Kelly's right there.
Trending up.
And so Case Keenum's got a 2-year contract.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chad Kelly steps on in. Maybe next year in training camp.
Well, look, The way things have been going in Denver, they've given starts to Brock Osweiler. They've given starts to Trevor Siemian. They've given starts to Paxton Lynch. They're going to give starts to Case Keenum, who, outside of last year, was never a very good quarterback. Do you think Chad Kelly gets some starts this year? Or do you think Case is good enough to actually stick it out the whole season? Man.
It would be so embarrassing. It would be so embarrassing if the guy they just signed as a free agent didn't start all 16 games if he's healthy. It would be so embarrassing. I'm not saying it wouldn't happen, but I would be mortified if that was me.
Because this is a team that went 5-11 last year, and that's the type of team that Case Keenum has played on outside of the last year when he was actually on a legitimately good team.
Yeah.
So if he's not on a legitimately good team, from what I'm seeing so far, he's not a legitimately good quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's right.
He could play himself out of a starting gig at some point if it's just for a game or two before he gets his head right or something stupid like that, and then they put him back in because Kelly isn't ready either.
Well, I will say this. The last time that I saw a free agent quarterback get signed and then not play was Matt Flynn, and that was the Seattle Seahawks when Russell Wilson got drafted. So, not the same here, but you know what? Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe. If I'm John Elway, though, I would be mortified to have signed this guy when I've got the quarterback I want already on my roster.
Yeah.
Oh, that would really bug me. Deal with that, horseface.
What do you think about the running game in Denver?
I don't. You know what? I'm not sold on the backs that they have. I do like that they drafted Royce Freeman.
Rolls Royce.
Go Ducks. I think he's a stud. When he was at Oregon, he was fantastic.
Yeah.
And I think he could do a lot of the things that he did in Oregon. I think will translate well to the NFL. He's a big guy. He's fast. He's the running back that you would like.
He's a full package.
Yeah.
Cool. He's been he's been playing well in preseason too. Not that means a lot, but at least he's not been playing poorly in preseason, which means something.
They also have Devontae Booker.
Yeah.
From last year. I don't know much about him.
He's another guy that he started off I think fairly strong. Together, I think maybe they might work out nicely. I don't think that I would want either one of them, at least Royce not at this point, to be the only guy or the guy that gets the majority, like 250 plus carries. But
there's a lot of unknown.
150 to 170 for each of them sounds good to me, maybe. The wide receivers are great. Demaryius Thomas is good. Emmanuel Sanders is great. I should say Demarius and Emmanuel are both great. Big fan of Jake Butt. Talked to him up big time last year. Never got onto the field.
He had an ACL last year, right?
Yeah, it was his second ACL tear. I think it happened in the last game, like one of the Holiday Bowl games, and couldn't get back from it.
So hopefully he's back.
He's been looking good in camp. I'm excited.
Okay.
Love me some Jake Butt. Jake Butt.
All right.
They also picked up Cortland Sutton as a rookie wide receiver.
They picked up a couple of rookie wide receivers. They picked up Sutton, and they picked up Deshaun Hamilton.
Okay.
From Penn. So, yeah. Penn State. Excuse me. Not Penn.
Okay.
Penn State. Yeah, so they got some help at the skill positions.
Very good.
The offensive line in flux.
Ooh.
Is that what we should
52 sacks last year?
Is that good?
No.
Not really.
That's one of the worst.
Okay.
That's not the worst, but I think it's up there.
What my research showed was that 3 of the 5 spots are up for grabs.
Oh, boy.
They've got center Matt Paredes, and they've got left tackle Garrett Bowles.
Okay.
And those are their 2 guys from last year that will come forward.
Yeah, Paradis, I think.
Paradis,
he's younger, and he actually worked out.
Paradis, right.
Yeah. And then, yes, Garrett Bowles has been pretty good.
But
pretty
the
solid.
other 3 spots they're looking for someone to come in and seize hold.
Yeah, and one of the participants, I think at a guard spot, Menelik Wilson, got hurt, and he's done for the season.
Ugh.
So,
okay.
Or maybe they even released him. I don't know. I don't think it matters that much because it's an offensive lineman on the Broncos.
Right.
But yeah, there's a lot of question marks there. So, running game, dangerous. Case Keenum, you're in trouble.
I'm not sure how dangerous the running game is going to be if the offensive line is that bad.
Oh, I meant dangerous for the running game.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So I think there are skill position players there. I think their trouble is going to be on the offensive line. And as any good Seahawks fan knows, you don't need an offensive line to play football.
That's right.
It just helps a lot.
Yeah.
What do you think defensively? Because they've got some talent on the defensive side of the
ball.
I like what they've
got. I like that they got Bradley Chubb opposite Von Miller. That's going to be scary.
He had a safety. last game they played.
Chubb did?
In preseason, yeah.
All right.
Bradley Chubb. Who'd he get? What was it, Mahomes?
I don't remember who they played.
I can't remember who they got.
I can't think that they would match those two teams up in the preseason.
Well, they matched the Raiders and the Rams.
That's true, which is a week 1 matchup, and I thought that was very bizarre.
I think stupid is the word you're looking for, but yeah, bizarre.
You were talking about how boring that game
was. Such. I watched the whole damn thing.
And I said, well, yeah,
I watched the whole thing.
They're not going to show each other anything.
It was
playing in 2 weeks.
Oh, it's just horrible. Yeah. Anyway, we'll talk more about that game in a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think defensively, I think they've got some guys.
Chris Harris Jr. is still there for cornerback, even though they lost Talib. I think they're going to be fine in the secondary. I think their defense is going to be good. They picked up Josie Jewell in the 3rd round, I think, linebacker type of guy.
Mm-hmm.
I like him. He's been looking good. I think their defense will be. I don't know if it's like a fantasy defense that you want necessarily, but I think they've got the talent to not be embarrassed.
Well, I think we can talk about that back and forth.
Yeah.
But I do have one question for you. Speaking of the secondary, speaking of Talib,
I hope I can answer.
They brought in a new defensive backs coach.
Oh, interesting.
Greg Williams. No relation to the Greg Williams.
Does he have 1 or 2
coordinator.
or 3 G's in his name?
I've got 1 in my notes. Just 1.
Well, 2 because it's G.
Just
R-E-G.
Okay, not 3.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Just the regular. The regular 2.
Yeah.
He was the secondary coach in Indianapolis last year.
Oh,
now,
okay.
my question for you
Yikes.
is, why would you go to that team and take anybody off their coaching staff to come in to help you with this?
Because they just didn't have the players, man. The coach was doing everything he could.
Okay.
And those guys were just not physically gifted.
Okay. That's the coach's whole job.
Yeah.
Is to make the players that he gets be better. That's your whole job.
I don't know what to tell you, except this might be bad. I did not know this. I think the guys in the backfield have a lot of talent, and he's just their coach. He's not calling the plays.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I think that's one thing. It won't matter so much. Maybe he's got some good ideas.
So I'm overthinking.
Maybe. I mean, it's an interesting thing to look at, and we'll see. But I like what they've done. Darian Stewart's good. They picked up Su'a Cravens, who the Washington football team had to let go of because of weird things. I think he like didn't want to play because he was hurt and was refusing to play, and even though it was like a bruise or something stupid like that, and they got fed up with him, and they were able to trade him, I believe is what it was, for not much. Mm-hmm. But Denver picked him up, and I think he's still having trouble getting into playing right now. He's got the little S logo by his name sidelined, I believe it means. So something's going on there, but he's supposed to be a true talent. So if he can get on the field, that could help them.
That's really interesting because that's like three of the Washington football team's secondary players are gone.
Right.
Then in Fuller and Skandrick, who's also playing for the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And now
all to the AFC West.
Yeah. And Cravens. Yeah, that's wow. What is in the water in Washington that's making them just not keep secondary guys?
Who knows?
That's weird. Okay. Anyway, I think the story here is going to be: is Case Keenum going to be enough? Is he going to be able to have success in Denver?
I've read that story. I finished it. It was very short. The ending was no.
So that's the Cliff Notes version?
That wasn't even Cliff Notes.
That's just the summary.
It was just 200 pages of no.
It's not going to be very good.
Yeah.
Good luck. What do you got for their record?
Oh boy.
I've got them at I've got them at 5-11.
I have 4-12.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we're on the same wavelength there.
Yeah, they'll beat some of the bad teams. That's about it.
Yeah, that's what I've got. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
For me, I'm intrigued to watch Jake Butt and see if he can put something together.
On the upside, he's going to be playing for a quarterback who's constantly going to be looking to check down.
Right.
So that's something. If he can get past the first wave of guys.
Yeah. I have a little stat for you too.
What's that?
Who's the last tight end for the Broncos to eclipse 800 receiving yards?
Oh, the last tight end. You know what? I can't think of any tight end except for Shannon Sharp. That goes back to the 90s, late 90s.
That is correct. Shannon Sharp with 1,100 yards in 1997.
Wow.
Other than that, it was that 1 year Julius Thomas was good, and he only had 788 yards.
I was gonna say I don't remember him. He had 1 year, and I don't remember him getting that many yards.
It wasn't. I mean, he was a touchdown machine, but he didn't get a lot of yards. He was a red zone threat.
Julius Thomas from?
Julius Thomas?
Julius Thomas?
Hey, Portland State, right?
Portland State.
Yeah,
that's right.
Go Vikes.
Go Vikes.
There we go.
Yes.
So I like Jake Butt. I think he's got a chance if Keenum is more of the Minnesota Keenum, which I don't believe he will be. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, even some of the bad quarterbacks still have to throw 3,000 yards. So I think Jake has a good chance to get up there, maybe get that 800 yards, maybe get more.
That seems like a stretch.
I'm not taking him in fantasy, though.
I don't think I'd take him in fantasy either. That seems like a bit of a stretch.
I'm rooting for him. As soon as they get rid of Case and...
Get rid of Case?
Yeah.
Who's going to throw in the ball?
Well, I mean, down the road in a couple of years.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
When I can like the Broncos again. 4-12, 5-11, somewhere around there.
That seems right. Okay, we're not far off.
Yeah.
That's good. And the last team to round out the AFC West.
Wrapping it up, Oakland Raiders. Soon to be Las Vegas.
The Vegas Raiders.
Yeah.
That sounds weird in my head. That still sounds weird.
It's because no pro teams in Vegas.
Well, the Knights, the Golden Knights
now
are in
there
Vegas.
Is,
yeah. They did okay. They did pretty good.
But it sounds weird still.
Stanley Cup runner-ups.
The Vegas Golden Knights. That doesn't roll off the tongue.
You know what? It does not, but I spent some time down in Las Vegas. I spent about 3-4 months down in Las Vegas, and that was right around the time they announced that the Raiders were going to be coming to Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. And when they first were announcing, that's the dumbest thing ever. But while I was down there, you would not believe how excited people are down there for the Raiders to be coming to Las Vegas. And if you think about the Raiders and their vibe, what they've done in the past, Vegas is exactly the right town for the Raiders
filthy,
to be. Yes,
rude,
horrible
gross.
People. No, I'm just kidding. Vegas is great. And for the Raiders, talk
Vegas
about just a gambling, a showboating team. I can think of nowhere better for the Raiders to go.
Yeah.
To me, it makes the only thing that's weird about it to me is that when I think of Vegas, I always think of gold. And I don't know why that is. That's a weird thing. And you have the silver and black. I don't know how the silver and black mixes into the gold.
How about this?
Of Vegas?
The Las Vegas Golden Raiders.
Oh, that's so stupid. And then they could have gold instead of silver.
And then they can match up with the Golden Knights.
The gold and black.
Yeah.
That's not.
I want it to happen. I just sully the good name of the Oakland Raiders.
Coaching staff: John Gruden.
Chucky.
John Gruden's there. He signed the 10-year, $100 million contract.
He used to have gold hair, didn't he?
No, he never had.
It turned red.
Actually, yeah, he had blonde. I think.
Yeah, golden.
I don't think you'd call it golden. I think strawberry blonde, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway.
What was his contract? Do you remember what they signed him for?
Was it 10 years?
Stupid. It was 10 years. I think it was 10 years, $100 million.
And stock options?
Something like a part ownership of the team.
Yeah.
It was insane. Whatever it was crazy. Because let's remember, Jack Del Rio is not a terrible coach. He's never going to get you all the way there.
He did exactly what we thought he would do. He got him to 13-3 and a first-round loss. Or did they make it further?
I can't remember.
I think they probably had the bye.
That was in 2016.
They might have had the divisional loss.
Because last year they didn't.
No, last year was a train wreck at 6-10.
Yeah, but he took them into the playoffs anyway.
And then they didn't get rid of him when they should have.
Evidently, yeah.
You can him after the 13-3 or 12-4 or whatever it was. I think it was 12-4 actually.
That sounds closer.
Yeah.
Greg Olson's the offensive coordinator. Paul Guenther is the defensive coordinator.
Ex-Bengal.
Let's be honest now. Offensively, this is going to be John Gruden's team.
Yeah.
And he's going to call the plays. Where do you want to start?
Where we've been starting, the quarterback.
Okay.
Derek Carr. Down year last year. And not really even that much of a down year, but a down year for him, especially compared to what he did in 2016. 2016, 3,900 yards, 28 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Last year, the very disappointing 2017 season of 3,500 yards and 22-13 touchdown to interception ratio.
Which still isn't terrible.
That's a Joe Flacco season.
That's not terrible.
Yeah.
But that's a Joe Flacco season? That's what you mean?
So it's elite. The difference is Derek Carr played the whole season basically with a ruptured entire spine or something ridiculous like that. He was hurt.
Yeah, he came up with it against Washington, didn't he?
Yeah, and he missed a couple of games and then came back because they needed him.
Clearly.
Because E.J. Manuel or whoever it was.
Connor Cook was playing it for you guys at one point. It was bad. It was bad for the Raiders at quarterback.
Yeah. And he did all of it. 3,500 yards, bad back, missed a couple of games. Amari Cooper dropped basically everything. Crabtree missed a couple of games. They don't have a tight end. It's like Jared Cook, who flamed out in Green Bay and Los Angeles / St. Louis. And then Marshawn Lynch was fine, but
Well, he was fine for like a game and a half.
Yeah.
And then he was largely a non-factor.
Yeah.
So,
he was fine for a 33-year-old.
I guess.
Or 32, whatever.
Nobody likes Marshawn Lynch more than I do, but you haven't seen anything from him except for there was one. I think it was against the Jets, and he
week
went
2
off
or something like that. Yeah.
He didn't even really go off. He had a couple
like
of pretty
yards.
good runs.
Yeah. But he rumbled and he broke free.
Yeah. When he got caught from behind, because it's Marshawn Lynch,
Yeah.
and that's what he always does. He rumbles and then he gets caught from behind.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, dude's a stud, but as a feature back, he at this point in his career, I don't know. I don't know. Is he still a feature back? They've got a kid by the name of Chris Warren III, who is the son of Chris Warren, who played for the Seahawks for a number of years.
Okay. What is he, like 3rd or 4th on the depth chart right now?
Fifth, and they're going to keep 4 running backs. So, he's the guy who's going to be cut.
Yeah. And they're not good running backs either.
Not really. And also...
Well, I mean, Marshawn Lynch is not bad, but
right.
At this point, you don't really want him toting it more than 10 times a game, I think.
I would rather have somebody else, or maybe just have one game where you can just focus on him and then give him 3 games off.
Yeah.
That seems right.
Keep him fresh.
But yeah, Chris Warren, he was the guy who went off against the Rams in that game where they didn't show anybody anything.
Oh.
Yeah, so...
That's right. Last week's preseason game.
Yeah, so does that even count? I mean,
not really.
Not really. Okay. All right. I had, again, before we started looking into this, I had forgot that Amari Cooper had just a terrible year catching the ball last year. He couldn't get his hands to close around anything. It was a long year for...
Is he going to get back?
No.
No? You think he's done? Toast?
I don't see how you come back from that. They brought in Jordy Nelson.
They did.
So, specifically, I think so that you wouldn't have to watch that kind of thing. Crabtree's gone.
Yeah.
So I guess Nelson fits into where Crabtree was. And that makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
Because stylistically, they're a similar type of player.
Yeah, I think they can do the same things, except Jordy can probably do more. Because Jordy can as a real deep threat.
Yeah, I think
I don't know that Crabtree can do that as much.
But I would, if I was a Raiders fan, I would really want to find out about Cooper fast. And if he's not going to be able to do what John Gruden needs him to do, they should go find somebody who can.
Is this year 4 for him? I think they can cut bait after this year if he keeps dropping the ball.
Might be a good thing to do.
It's too bad because he looked promising early in his career.
Well, he had that one good year.
Yeah.
And it was his second year, I think, wasn't it?
I'm bringing him up now.
Okay.
This is year 4. He started with 2,000-yard seasons, and 2016 was 1,153.
How many catches?
83 catches. Okay. And 72 his rookie year, but then it fell to 48 last year.
It was rough. He just couldn't, and it wasn't like because the ball was hitting him in the hands.
Yeah.
I mean, he just had a miserable year. He was doing bad at his job.
I want to root for him, but he's making it hard with that drop off.
I have a hard time rooting for receivers who can't catch.
Yeah, well,
I don't have a lot of patience for guys.
Do your job, man.
It's one thing. What do they say? What we talked about? We've talked about this a little bit. If you're in high school and the ball hits you in the hands and you drop it, that's fine because you're a high school kid. If you're in college and the ball hits you in the hands and you drop it, that's bad.
Yeah.
Right? If you're in the NFL and the ball hits you in one hand, you should catch that ball.
Your gloves, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't even have to close your hand to catch the ball.
Not anymore. I mean, you can catch the back half of the ball with those gloves, right?
Yeah.
And you see Amari Cooper, who the ball would hit him in the hands repeatedly last year.
He's a regular Brashad Perriman.
The amazing thing to me is not so much how many balls he dropped. The amazing thing to me is that Carr threw the ball at him at all in the second half of the season.
He didn't really have much choice for anything else.
There's always a choice.
It was
you just take
Cordarrelle Patterson.
Just take a sack.
No, okay.
Just take the sack.
Just get out of the game.
Just don't. No. Well, your first option's Cooper. No.
Nah.
No. Checking down.
What do you think about the Raiders drafting? Now, in the first round, they went ahead and reached up and took Colton Miller, who is an enormous offensive lineman. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he was really projected to be that high of a pick.
No, they reached.
But he's their guy. But now, the big thing with Oakland has been their pass defense is atrocious. Mm-hmm. And there were a couple of guys that were available at Colton Miller's spot. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess maybe there was just one, really. It was Derwin James.
Derwin James was available.
Who was available.
They were looking at Minka Fitzpatrick.
Fitzpatrick, who went a couple spots before him.
But Derwin James was there?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's the guy they should have got. They whiffed on that.
Man.
The only thing I can think of is that Tom Cable had a bit of a hard-on for Colton Miller, and that's why they went and got him.
Yeah.
I can't think of another reason why you would bypass that position, because like you said, it's an obvious need. Secondary, you need help, and there's a guy there who can plug in week 1 to start.
Yeah.
I don't know. Colton Miller, what position does Colton Miller play?
I think he's a tackle.
Yeah.
I don't know which side.
Don't they have a guy named Donald Penn?
They do, but he's like 35, and he was injured.
Still.
But still, he's supposed to be there.
I don't know. I didn't get it.
The Raiders are making me mad.
There's a lot of things. Mad. There's a lot of things about the Raiders that are confusing to me.
Yeah.
What do you think about Khalil Mack?
He's amazing, and they've worked themselves into a tough situation. He's got to get that money.
Do you think at this point of the season, or at this point in the proceedings, do you think it makes sense to start entertaining trade offers?
Sure.
I hear the Jets are looking.
The Jets openly inquired.
Yeah.
Apparently other teams have obviously done it too, because why don't you go and see what's going on with the best or second best or tied for best defensive player in the league?
It seems really strange to me. You've got to figure he's probably going to command around $100 million.
Yeah, I think I read that he wants $20 million. He wants quarterback money.
He wants $20 million a year guaranteed. Yeah. Is it guaranteed? Is that the sticking point, or is it?
I don't even know what it would be. I'm not. You know me. I do not.
Yeah.
Care so much for the money side of things.
I was kind of looking.
I haven't been tracking it.
That's what I was thinking. I was thinking about $100 million sounded about right, and I was looking at cap space for the Raiders for the next few years. Right now, as we sit right now today, they've got about $8 million left in cap space. Next year,
give it to them.
Next year, they've only got $40 million unspent of their projected cap.
Give it to them.
The year after that, they've already spent $80 million of the cap. My point is that if they put $20 million a year towards those years, you're fast going to run out of money.
Right.
This is the kind of situation that gets teams into trouble.
The good thing about Oakland, though, is they have a lot of old guys, because that's Gruden's style, is to go get old guys.
I think he calls them veterans.
Yeah.
Right.
So theoretically, they could get rid of a lot of these old guys who are on probably higher salaries than they could be, and they won't necessarily be filling in with all pros or pro bowlers or guys that you want on your team, but at least you still have Khalil Mack.
In recent years, though, hasn't that been backwards from the way winning teams have been built in recent years?
Mostly.
Because isn't now the thing is that you draft young and you get these guys to play for you before they are old enough.
Right. You take advantage of the rookie contract.
Yeah. You just filch all the goodness out of them during their rookie contract.
And then you let the Vikings pay for the big contract.
But this seems like a throwback to when he was coaching the Raiders the first time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's going to be able to build a team that way. The same way I don't know if he's going to be able to get his offense installed in a year.
It's dangerous.
Because when he got with the Raiders the first time, it took him about 3 years to figure things out.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got that kind of time.
The news out of Oakland, everybody's talking about how good Derek Carr is at this offense. He's picking it up. Gruden himself has said that he's amazing and he's smarter than him. Carr is smarter than Gruden.
Okay.
And at least from the quarterback standpoint, which is probably the best person on the offense to understand your offense that is ridiculously complicated. He's probably the one that you want to understand it. So that's good.
Yeah.
So it might install on the first try.
Well, and I hope it does for Carr's sake.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's going to be a long few years. If he's the only one there who gets the offense and it takes everybody else 2 years to figure it out.
I don't know. The Raiders are, I don't know. I don't know that I agree with what I put them at on my record anymore.
Oh, really? Wow. Good, because I agree exactly with where I put them at. And I don't like getting down on the Raiders, but are we there? Should we give predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
I've got them at 5-11.
Okay, I have them at 9-7.
Oh, wow.
And this was,
Really?
I put this in a while ago before I really dug into the Raiders and realized that their running backs are Marshawn Lynch and Doug Martin.
We didn't even talk about Doug Martin.
Yeah, because why?
Yeah.
And then their wide receivers are 34-year-old Jordy Nelson, who had a terrible year last year after, 3 straight seasons in Green Bay of 1,300 yards.
Yeah, but I think we can blame
Aaron Rodgers
and Rex Hudler. Brett Hudley.
Okay, fair. Fine.
That was one of the bright spots for me because I think if Derek Carr can consistently find Jordy Nelson, that'll go a long way.
That's where I was going. I think I was just Derek Carr's back. Gruden's going to do something magical, and it doesn't matter. Derek Carr's the new Aaron Rodgers. Who cares who the wide receivers are?
I would like that. I would like it. I think the NFL is a more fun place to be when the Raiders are good.
Yeah.
I just don't think so. I think 5-11. That's what I'm feeling.
I'm really angry that they did not address the defense more wholeheartedly in the draft.
Also, you know what? This is a small thing. I can't believe they waived Marquette King.
Yeah.
Isn't that just stupid?
Because he got in an argument with Gruden,
For
essentially.
whatever reason. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah.
I know he's just a punter, but dude, best punter in the league. He's really good.
Field position's important.
Also, they can Janikowski.
Yeah, and he just won the starting job over somebody else in Seattle.
Is he the guy now in
Jason
Seattle?
Myers, the ex-Jacksonville kicker.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take him. I mean, he's fine.
So the guy from Jacksonville, who was like 26 years old and has a boomer for a leg, lost to 42-year-old Sebastian Janikowski coming off a back injury and didn't even play last year.
That sounds right.
If I'm Jason Myers, I might be upset.
As a Seahawks fan, all I'm saying is it's better than the Blair Witch Project.
Yeah.
Because that was just terrible. That was horrible.
Yeah. Oh, and I have to say,
the Blair Walsh Project, excuse me.
Last week when we were talking about the Bills,
yes,
and I brought up Stephen Hauschka,
yes,
who did kick for the Seahawks
years and years ago.
A few years ago.
Yeah.
I mistook him for Blair Walsh.
Oh no.
Which is why I said, and they won't even make field goals, I think, or something stupid like that.
Okay.
Stephen Hauschka is good. So the star of the Buffalo Bills, Stephen Hauschka.
Wow. Yeah. Walks on the team, special teams captain.
Exactly. Anyway, the Raiders, not looking good. I have them at 9-7.
9-7. That's the AFC West.
Yeah.
There you go, after only an hour and 7 minutes.
It was still right on schedule.
NFC West.
Cardinals, Arizona.
Head coach Steve Wilkes, offensive coordinator Mike McCoy, and defensive coordinator Al Holcomb.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've talked about this before.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge Steve Wilkes guy.
Yeah, and it's very petty, but I like it.
I think that it's going to be a long year in Arizona. I'm just going to start off with that.
You think it will be?
I think it's going to be a long year for Cardinals fans. I think there's going to be a lot of looking around going, why did that just happen? But let's start off with the $20 million man.
Yeah.
Sammy Bradford.
Woo.
How?
He earned it.
Did he?
He earned it, man.
How?
He played that one game last year.
That was not... No. He's, you know what? He had one good year in college, and he's been living off that ever since. How does he get a contract?
He is the most mind-boggling creature on earth.
Makes no sense to me at all. Backing up Sam Bradford is Josh Rosen. And Sam Bradford will start for a number of reasons, about 20 million of them in his bank account.
Yeah.
Also, the Cardinals' offensive line is bad.
Ooh, it's real bad.
Yeah. So at some point in the season, you're going to see Josh Rosen start.
Mm-hmm.
But it's probably going to be because Sam Bradford is hurt.
In an ambulance.
I hope not. I hope they don't kill him. Just that
they don't
poor
put
guy.
dead people in ambulances.
That poor guy, man. He is so fragile.
He's a glutton for punishment.
There's nothing that ever stays where it's supposed to with him. Right?
No.
Just, oh man.
The saddest part for me is that Arizona tried to upgrade their offensive line and just failed.
What'd they do?
They went out and got Justin Pugh from New York.
Mm-hmm.
They picked up Andre Smith from Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And then, to be fair, they didn't do anything here. Mike Iupati just got hurt, or got better.
He's returning.
So he's coming back.
Yeah.
He's actually probably legitimately decent, though he's getting older every year, and he was hurt last year. But Pugh and Smith are... They're guys.
Yeah.
They're not going to be
they're
train
NFL.
wrecks, revolving doors.
They're NFL players, right?
I just turned off my computer.
Do you need to turn it back on?
Nah, it'll be fine. So,
okay. Yeah.
David Johnson's back.
Is it going to matter that David Johnson's back if their offensive line is that bad? Because I'm a David Johnson guy.
I mean, I guess their offensive line was fairly solid 2 years ago when he did his thing and put up 2,000 all-purpose yards and 20 touchdowns. Some guys just seem to be able to do it no matter what. He feels like one of those guys, but at the same time, we've only seen him do it once.
Yeah.
So it's
like
hard to say, but I think he's good enough. He's coming back from a broken wrist, which doesn't really affect what he does unless he starts fumbling the ball, but I don't know if that's something that's really going to happen.
Yeah.
So
it does remind me a little bit of Chris Johnson, though. It's like kind of that 1 year. He needs to go out and prove it now. I think you're absolutely right. Maybe he can. Maybe he can with the line. On the outside, Larry Fitzgerald's still there, so they still got a receiver. Do they have anybody else that you wanted to talk about at the position?
I'm intrigued by their second-round pick, Christian Kirk.
Okay.
He's been I think he's a punt returner first and foremost. But he's been mixing in more in the actual receiving game. The problem is he's a slot guy, which is where Larry plays now.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they'll do with that necessarily. If they'll just try and put Kirk out wide, maybe they'll stack him and they'll take turns running in the slot, and one of them will run out. Who knows?
Okay.
J.J. Nelson is there. I haven't been hearing much about him, but he's been solid for them for a couple of seasons, couple 500-yard seasons, and 8 touchdowns the last 2 years. So he's a quality guy. And then they have a third-round rookie whose name is escaping me right now because my computer isn't ready. Didn't do anything last year. Maybe he'll be something because he's a third-round pick, or maybe he's nothing, and that's why he did nothing last year.
That sounds good.
What else? What do you think? I think their defense is where this team makes their money, but you don't like Wilkes at all.
I think they have a lot
because he lied to you and said that.
Well, he was disingenuous about how he was going to play people. Is my problem with him. He said he was going to. Steve Wilkes comes from the Carolina Panthers. The Carolina Panthers never come out of their base defense, and he was the DC he was the defensive coordinator back there for the last few years. He's going to bring the 4-3 defense, that flavor of 4-3 defense, to the desert. That's why they brought him in, right?
Yeah.
And if I'm Steve Wilkes, I would do the same thing, because the reason you brought me in was to install this defense to play football the way I know how to play football. You didn't bring me in here to run the option, right? You brought me in here to go do defensive football things, and that's why I'm here. So I completely get it, but they were talking about Chandler Jones.
That's right.
What he was saying was that they were going to rush Chandler Jones the same number of times as they did when he was in the 3-4 from the same basic alignment, and they're not. What he was trying to say was that in a 3-4 alignment, Chandler Jones as an outside linebacker would be counted on more to drop in coverage, and
which he can do,
which he can do, and he has in the past. But in point of fact, last year Chandler Jones didn't drop in coverage. He rushed the quarter. He rushed the quarterback.
That's right. We had a little film study.
Yeah.
And we watched, and he stood up and he rushed every time.
Yeah, he didn't drop back in coverage. The only time he was dropping back was when it was like a sweep.
Yeah.
And then he would, contain the edge, but he was rushing the quarterback.
So Wilkes hadn't watched any game film of his team.
just a liar.
Or he's a liar. You have just insisted that he's a liar.
Pretty sure.
Yeah.
Pretty sure I proved it with scientific facts. So I don't know. The thing that gets me though is that there's talent on the defensive side of the ball.
So much talent.
Yeah. There's really no excuse for this team to not be great defensively, barring injury.
I think they will be great defensively. I just think they won't put up any points.
And I think that's where they're going to be hurt, because I don't think you can. You know what? In today's NFL, I don't think you can be defensively dominant.
Yeah.
I just don't think
it's hard. I mean, look at Baltimore.
Yeah.
They're stellar defensively for the most part, but Joe Flacco and Cameron and whoever the heck out, Marty Morningwig, they can't put together anything, can't put points on the board, and they suffer for it and keep missing the playoffs.
I think in today's NFL, essentially, you can't say that you deserve to win a game until you score 23 points.
Yeah.
You need to score more than that. I think it's about 22, 23 points.
Unless you're regularly keeping your opponent at 3 points a game.
But nobody is.
Then you can go ahead and
That's
say.
That's what I'm saying. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
If you can't as a football team, you can't reasonably say we should have won that game unless you put up 23 points.
Yeah.
If you put up 23 points and you lose, you can bitch about defense.
Yeah.
That's the defense let you down. But if you can't put up 23 points, you don't get to say the defense sucks. You can just say we should have scored more, and that's it.
Right.
And I'm not sure the Cardinals can.
Do you not trust Sam Bradford, if he's healthy, to put up the kind of numbers and performance that would give them the opportunity to get that many points? Because to me, I feel like I've seen Bradford, especially now that he's been around for a while, back when he was the Rams and he was young, I felt like he had plenty of rookie and just young guy mishaps.
Yeah,
but I feel like
he did.
In the few times in Philly and that one game in Minnesota that we saw him play, he looked pretty good. But at the same time, he needs that offensive line. Because he can't run around for anything.
That's the thing. When they brought him over to Philly, the reason they brought him was because they thought they were going to get a quarterback that was similar to how he played in college. Because he used to run a little bit.
Yeah.
In college
before his knee got torn 4 times.
He doesn't run he doesn't seem to move anymore.
Yeah.
Outside of the pocket. And the only game we saw him in Minnesota, he didn't get a chance to move. So I've got to think he's not a very mobile guy at this point in his career. What has he done to prove to me, or to show me that he can do those things.
Exactly.
I don't think he's done anything.
Yeah.
Which is worrisome to me because once Bradford goes down, Josh Rosen moves a lot like Sam Bradford. He doesn't move a lot. I mean, he can
pocket passer.
Yeah, he kind of shifts around a little bit, but neither one of those guys is great if you don't keep them clean.
Okay.
And I just don't see it.
Uh-oh.
So,
yeah.
Not big on the Cardinals either.
Okay, too bad. All the defensive talent is wasted.
But I got to say these names before we go. Buda Baker is great.
He's one of my favorites.
And in the secondary. And we said Chandler Jones. So
Chandler Jones. Marcus Golden is coming back. I'm excited for him. He had 12.5 sacks 2 years ago. ACL injury, of course. You're not a real NFL player if you haven't torn your ACL.
Don't ever say that again. That's so bad.
Yeah, I like Hassan Reddick, first-round pick last year. Looks good. Patrick Peterson is one of the best, maybe the best.
Maybe the best.
Cornerback in the NFL right now.
He's really good. Yeah.
Yeah. Antoine Bethay's nothing to sneeze at.
Although you got those two guys, you got those two cornerbacks in Jacksonville that are pretty good too.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry, Jalen. Anyway,
where do you have them finishing the year?
Why don't you go ahead and tell them, because I forgot to bring mine up.
I've got them at 2-14.
Oh my goodness!
This is, for me, I think this is my low water. This is my low water mark. This is the 2019 first round first overall pick.
Oh really?
Is going to be the Arizona Cardinals? Yeah.
Fighting it out with the Bills.
Yeah.
I have them at 5-11.
Okay.
I think they might win. Well, what do I say? I have them just basically winning a game every now and then throughout the season. Chicago, Denver, San Francisco, Oakland, and then steal one in Atlanta. Apparently, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there.
Nice.
Josh Rosen finally finds himself.
Sweet.
For a game.
I like it.
Anyway.
And I think obviously these could swing, but I just don't have a lot of faith in. I don't have a lot of faith in what the Cardinals are going to do offensively, and I have really very little faith in what Steve Wilkes is going to do if things don't work out right away defensively.
Who's their offensive coordinator? Mike McCoy.
Yeah.
Okay. He's shown a little bit of offensive stuff, so that could work. I think a lot of it comes down to the offensive line for me, because I don't hate Sam Bradford. I just don't understand how he keeps getting jobs because he's never healthy.
Yeah.
But I feel like if he actually was healthy and playing a game, he can probably put together a decent little team.
Yeah.
Weird team.
It is a weird team. And Mike McCoy got hosed, I think, in Denver. He got fired for some reason. Yeah. I didn't understand why they let him go.
Why'd you make Simeon bad all of a sudden? How dare you?
They brought in Bill Musgrave. Yeah. They replaced Mike McCoy with Bill Musgrave, which was like, what do I know? Who am I to say?
San Francisco 49ers.
San Francisco 49ers.
Kyle Shanahan, head coach, also calling the plays there. I don't think they even have a listed offensive coordinator.
Nope.
Robert Saleh. How do you say that name?
Saleh.
Saleh?
That's how I've been saying it.
I always wanted to say Saleh.
The Better Rivals podcast pronounces it Robert Saleh.
Oh, okay.
So, or Robert Saleh. Excuse me, Robert Saleh. So that's...
Robert S. is the defensive coordinator in San Francisco.
Just give up on it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Jimmy Garoppolo.
Jimmy G.
What do you think, man? Pretty good.
Second coming.
Pretty good.
Yeah, everybody, all those people out there, small sample size, just get over it.
That was me.
Get over it. He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine.
67% of his throws last year in, 6 games?
Yep.
More touchdowns than interceptions, 7-5. That's fine. Whatever. Yep. 5 wins in a row.
Pretty
Couple
good.
Against playoff talent.
Yeah.
Titans and... I guess the Titans, were they in the... Yeah, no. What? Were they in the playoffs?
No.
No.
No. They only won the 5 games that he started, I think. Or no, 6. They were 6.
No, the Titans. Were the Titans in the playoffs?
Oh, the Titans? Yeah, they beat the Rams.
They were. That's what No, they did not.
Who'd they beat? They beat somebody.
The Titans and the Rams aren't in the same division.
Wait,
conference, first of all.
Wait, who'd they play?
Chiefs? They beat the Chiefs, right?
They beat the Chiefs. That's when Mariota caught his own pass.
Or did the Chiefs beat them?
No,
I can't remember.
Mariota caught his own pass, and then the Titans went to Jacksonville and they got slaughtered.
There we go.
Okay.
So he beat a couple of playoff teams. They beat Jacksonville, which was a dismantling, which really got everybody in San Francisco hyped.
Yeah.
But because of those 5 wins, San Francisco wasn't able to pick somebody in the draft like Saquon Barkley, Bradley Chubb, Quentin Nelson, or Denzel Ward. They had to settle for Mike McGlinchey, the gigantic tackle.
The gigantic slow, really slow tackle.
Are you surprised by that pick?
Am I surprised?
At the 10th spot or 9th spot?
I'm not surprised. I'm disappointed because I think they could have gotten somebody better. Mike McGlinchey, I think, he's a good body size, but he doesn't have great tackle feet.
A lot of people were saying he might have been made more by being by standing next to Quentin Nelson the entire time.
Yeah, he played left tackle, and Nelson played left guard, I think. And those two together were quite the tandem in Notre Dame last year. But yeah, I think some of the reason why he looked so good was because he played next to Nelson. I think that's probably true. I think he's gonna be an NFL player.
Yeah, they've got him penciled to start, so that's good.
Yeah, I think they're putting him in at right tackle to start, and they got Joe Staley.
And then they might move him over to left once Staley retires because he's getting up there.
Yeah, which
fine, that's fine.
Yeah, I guess it's fine. Sure would have been nice to have Bradley Chubb or Saquon Barkley.
Well, but to me that was saying, why did you put Garoppolo in? You should have just wrote it out with Beathard at this point, because you would have been a 1-15 team, 2-14 at best. I think
you got to win a game. I mean,
they had to win.
You got to win a game.
Yeah, but you can't blame them for not putting.
The other thing they needed to find out, because if you remember last year when they traded for Garoppolo,
right.
They were 1-10, 1-9.
Something like that, yeah.
They were on a pace to be one of the top picks in the draft to select a quarterback.
They were.
And after they traded for Garoppolo, they had to figure out if he was the guy.
It still wasn't a sure thing if he was even going to resign, if they did think he was the guy, too.
Right, that's because he was a free agent. That's right. So they needed to figure out if they wanted him, and if they didn't, maybe they would have drafted Darnold or Allen or
they did the right
Jackson
thing.
Or
they
whoever.
Wouldn't have drafted Josh Allen. They're not stupid.
Maybe traded for Patrick Mahomes. Who knows? You don't know. But yeah, it was. We'll see.
Even though it's only 7 games, he still did it for 7 games.
Yeah.
He might not be the greatest quarterback, but he's surely going to be a passable quarterback.
He's going to be better than that. He's going to be a top tier guy.
Is he going to be better than Joe Flacco?
He's going to be so much better than Joe Flacco. He's going to be so much better than Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
It's not even close. Matt Ryan is so terrible. That guy is awful. But here's the thing about the Niners. Their running back situation is a little bit in flux.
Yeah.
But they've got a receiving core now.
I love their receiving core.
They've got some studs. They've got Garcon. They've got Goodwin.
Marquise Goodwin, who I have to say was in Buffalo and was terrible and was not any good. And then as soon as he left Buffalo, oh my gosh, he's actually a good guy, and like Buffalo sucks.
It's like what we were all expecting with Sammy Watkins, except he did good.
And Robert Woods.
Instead of bad.
I should save that for when we talk about the Rams.
You should save that for when we talk about the Rams. Kendrick Bourne, Trent Taylor, George Kittle at tight end had a great year. He's hurt now.
Yeah.
But they're expecting him to come back. I think Jared McKinnon's hurt too. As we sit here talking.
Jerick McKinnon and Matt Breida both, but they're not long-term injuries. They're basically being held out Hugh Jackson style to keep them healthy for the regular season.
But that makes sense for me
because they're actually hurt.
Yeah, well, not only that, but because they're the Niners.
Not protecting them from getting hurt.
Yeah, and it's I don't think you can
no,
compare
it's not
those two
all
things.
huge. No, I'm just kidding.
That was funny though. I like it.
Dante Pettis they also drafted, second round rookie wide receiver out of Washington. You watch college football. Is Dante Pettis any good?
I don't watch Washington.
Oh, you don't? Not even those 2 games when they play the Ducks?
They don't play him in 2 games. They only played him in 1 game a year.
Oh, college football's so dumb.
But no, I didn't notice him. So.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Well, what I've been reading in my 1 paragraph of reading of Dante Pettis, he's looking good, but obviously, as most rookies do, he's struggling with contested catches. But he has been showing the ability to get open. Okay. So, target him when he's open. Let him be when he's blanketed.
Interesting.
He's no Mike Evans. Not yet.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you could throw him the ball when nobody's around him.
Revelatory stuff right here.
Interesting.
Apparently there are guys that you can't even be trusted to catch the ball when they're open. Amari Cooper.
Amari Cooper. Yeah. Oh, it's brutal.
But anyway, I like a lot of these guys. Jerick McKinnon's apparently a pass catcher too, so that's great.
I think he's gonna be a great fit.
Yeah.
And he's also a better pass blocker than Carlos Hyde.
That's right.
So you do get a little bit of a more bang for your buck.
Yeah. The only thing with McKinnon is he's never been able to get a hold of that lead dog spot. He's always been behind Adrian Peterson and Matt Asiata, and then last year like Latavius Murray and Dalvin Cook for 60 minutes.
Yeah. I think he's a good pickup. I think they probably spent a little too much for him, but I think it's fine.
They had the money to spend as well.
They also were one of those teams like the Rams that had a lot of cap room.
Yeah.
So they didn't break the bank, that's for sure. The offensive line, we talked a little bit about McGlinchey and Staley.
Staley.
They brought in Weston Richburg he's returning. Weston Richburg is center.
He was a Giant.
He was a Giant.
Come over
he came
before?
over. That's right. He came over free agent.
I think so.
Yeah. And the offensive line seems to be a little more solid than it maybe was last year. I think they might have got an upgrade a little bit, somewhat.
Right.
I don't know if McGlinchey is worth the pick where... I don't know if he was worth where they got him. I think he's still going to be fine. Mm-hmm. The offense, I think, is going to be solid. I think Kyle Shanahan is a great offensive play caller.
Right.
And he's going to put these guys in a good spot to win.
They showed some things last year. I mean, they won 5 in a row.
Yep. Defensively.
Defensively is where the problems lie, which is weird because they've got some good names.
They do.
On that side of the ball. But a lot of the guys like Eric Armstead, Solomon Thomas, haven't really been able to put together solid full seasons or stay out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the other guy?
Reuben Foster.
Reuben Foster. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
They're all good players.
Yeah. There's really not much depth.
Yeah, that's true.
In this group. And Robert Salah coming from Seattle, coming from the Pete Carroll, Gus Bradley, Dan Quinn, Robert Salah. They all have that. What they all want to do is they want to rotate defensive linemen, lots of pressure, and then they want to have guys in the secondary that can capitalize on the pressure created by the front four.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. It really breaks down when you don't have a lot of guys on the defensive line. If you are stuck with the same 4, 5, 6 guys and they get tired, they don't provide much of a push.
Right.
Then
you rotate and the other guys just aren't as effective. You're getting beat as soon as you pull those guys out.
Then what happens is because in the secondary they play a kind of it's a more risky style. So stylistically, there will be more opportunities if you don't get a good push up front.
There's a lot of man coverage.
It's short zone.
Short zone, okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of short zone. It's tight zone. It's a man zone, so they play it close.
Yeah.
But they do pass guys off.
So communication breakdowns can lead to big plays.
Yeah.
If the right guy doesn't switch onto the right receiver.
Yeah, and that can happen the minute you switch from one zone to another.
Yeah, you see it all the time.
So it is a little worrisome. They did sign Richard Sherman in the offseason. He's coming off that Achilles. He's actually, I think he's going to suit up and play for the first time since
they're talking about him entering this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend. I think he was a great pickup for them. I think he's another coach in the secondary.
Exactly.
I have not seen in all my years watching football, I have not seen a cornerback that knows the game better than Richard Sherman. The guy is great, and to have him in your defensive backs room, I think will be a huge help no matter what he does on the field. That being said, the Achilles injury that he's coming back from, guys come back from this now.
Yeah.
And they didn't 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's probably going to be fine. Remember, Richard Sherman has never been the fastest guy on the field. But what he does better than anybody else that I have ever seen play, this is the second thing Richard Sherman does better than anybody else I've ever seen play, he tackles in the open field like no other.
Yep.
That guy is a monster. He's not a hitter. But if he gets his hands on you
and bring you down,
he will haul you down. He will stay leeched onto your back until either you fall down or someone else comes down.
The leech.
The guy is just awesome at that, and he's a big dude. I mean, he's 6'3". His arm span is probably close to 68 inches. It's maybe 70 inches. He's huge.
That's me.
He's just a lot like you. Yeah, he's a lot like you. I have nothing but great things to say. I'm gonna hate watching him play the Seahawks twice a year. That's going to be a long game for Richard Sherman, I think.
I like their secondary, though. They've got some good young talent there. Akello Weatherspoon at the other cornerback spot is looking promising. Jakiski Tart, who I love saying that name, also good at safety. Adrian Colbert's good. Quan Williams. All these guys look like if everything goes well, it could develop into a nice secondary, which was not the case last year.
Mm-hmm. I don't know that it's going to matter this year if they can't get a good push up front. That's the thing that I think may end up holding them back. I think that's the way they might have to improve. And I think that might be what hurt them by winning the games they won last year. Because if they would have, like I said, if they would have lost those games, maybe they get
Chubster.
Bradley Chubb, yeah. Maybe. I've got the Niners at 9-7.
I have 8-8.
Outside shot at a wild card.
Yeah.
I think is what
good
I'm saying.
improvement. And 8-8 could easily turn into 10-6.
Could, especially if they beat the Seahawks, which I don't have them doing. They're going to lose to the Seahawks.
Of course.
Yeah.
You can't do that to yourself.
I think the Seahawks are 16-0 this year.
I have them losing a game to Arizona, which could easily flip for me. I have them losing a game to Seattle, which for me could easily flip. Sorry, JB. So that puts them at 10-6. I like it.
Solid.
It's a good team.
Yeah, I think it's a good team.
If they don't get to 500, that's a disappointment for me for sure.
Yeah.
Even though they were a terrible team last year. Yeah, a lot of it was largely the quarterback play.
Well, all of it. Let's be honest now, because the only thing that changed.
Half-season hero.
That was the only thing that changed was Brian Hoyer wasn't the starter and C.J. Beathard wasn't the starter. That was the only thing.
C.J. Beathard isn't really that good.
Well, he wasn't last year anyway.
Yeah. Maybe he'll turn into something. They still got him.
No, he won't turn into... Maybe. No, he won't. He's bad.
He's a regular Kellen Clemens.
Kelly Clemens he's like a 10-year vet in the league, though. Yep. That guy had a job forever.
He holds a clipboard like nobody else.
I think he's still holding the clipboard somewhere. Yeah, okay.
The Rams.
We're leaving.
Our listeners' favorite team. I left Seattle last for you.
Well, kick us off.
Let's get through the Rams quick. We talk about them too much, in your opinion.
All the time.
Sean McVay, head coach, play caller. They have an interesting situation. They have Shane Waldron at pass game coordinator and Aaron Kromer at run game coordinator. That's enough of that. Wade Phillips, the chosen one. I don't know what to call him.
I guess. He's been doing this 20 years, and suddenly last year, he's like the greatest defensive coach of all time.
Yeah.
So just stop it. He's fine.
I'm going to just wrap this up right now. The only thing we need to say about the defense is that they just signed Ndamukong Suh. They added Aqib Talib, Marcus Peters. They're getting Dominique Easley back. Michael Brockers is still there. Their linebackers are a huge question mark.
You don't need linebackers, though, if you've got that defensive
Samson
front.
Ebukam.
Who?
And Matt Longacre.
You're making those names up.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Look for the tight ends to flourish against the Rams on defense. Otherwise, if you don't have a good tight end, you are in trouble and will automatically lose to the Rams.
I think probably what's going to happen is they're going to drop Aaron Donald back in coverage is what they're going to do.
Is he good? He can do whatever he wants.
Pretty sure he's going to do that.
Yeah. I don't want him to even put linebackers on the field.
Speaking, you know what? Since we're over here on the defensive side of the ball, are they going to sign Aaron Donald? Are they going to get that done?
I think they will.
I think it's the dumbest thing ever because here's the thing. We talked about Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
And the Raiders are in some kind of they're in a bit of a pinch for salary cap.
Yeah.
And so I can understand them
waiting and dragging their feet.
But the Rams have no excuse. Yeah. They've got all kinds of salary cap room.
From what I've heard, from what I've gleaned from Twitter, is that it's coming down to specifics and really just getting him the money that he wants, though in a way that's favorable for the Rams.
Okay.
So they're just trying to finagle something in that gets him his money while not totally hamstringing them.
Well, I think there's a lot of ways to do that because, like I said, the Rams have
under the table. No,
that's not a way you can do. That'd be awesome. Just they show up with like a grocery sack full of cash.
But officially, he's being paid $6 million a year.
Yeah, it's $6 million a year plus whatever in the minivan outside. Yeah. I don't know.
Do that.
Who knows? The Rams have all kinds of cap flexibility over the next 4 years. There's really
until
no
Goff
reason.
needs his money and Gurley
Gurley got paid.
Yeah, that's
Gurley
right.
got paid. They chose to pay Brandon Cooks, which I don't understand at all. Why would you ever play a wide receiver? You should never do that, Go Beefs. You should never pay a wide receiver money.
That might be the one thing they did wrong this year.
Much less that. I think he got $15 million, which isn't Antonio Brown money, but it's not. That's nothing to sneeze at.
Especially when you owed Aaron Donald twice that.
You owe Aaron Donald. Well, you do owe him about $100 million over 5 years. That's about what you owe him. Jared Goff is going to break. Let me rephrase. If Jared Goff puts up the same kind of numbers he did last year for the next 2 years,
approaches 4,000 and 4-to-1 touchdown interception ratio,
he's looking at $30 million.
Yeah,
you're looking at paying him $30 million a year, and just let that sink in because that's an obscene amount of money for a quarterback. Yeah. For anybody, that's obscene unless you play baseball, and then it's a fine wage.
That's nothing.
I don't They should get this done for Aaron Donald. They really should.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you gotta flip him. You're not going to get anything for him. You're not going to get equal value.
No.
But
you still get a draft pick.
If it was me, I would flip him for draft picks.
You would, yeah.
Yeah, I would flip him for draft picks to a terrible team. I would go straight Belichick.
In the AFC.
I would go straight Belichick on
Bills.
Yep.
Send him to the Bills.
He'll
probably be terrible if you send him there anyway. You wouldn't even have to worry about it.
That's what Belichick does, man. He sends people to the Browns.
Yeah.
Not anymore because the Browns are starting to get talent.
Look out.
Because
it's the Buffalo now.
Yeah, now maybe Buffalo. Yeah, flip him.
Oh, God, poor Aaron. He's going to freeze.
If, God forbid, if that happens, does that affect the defense? I mean, obviously it affects the defense.
It does, but I still think, even without Aaron Donald, since they picked up Suh, not having to pay Donald means they can bring in some more talent in the linebacker position next year. So if that is an issue this year, if Sampson and Matt Longacre aren't really what you want long term, which I'm sure they're not, but who knows, then that's fine. And they've still got plenty of talent on that team. And when Talib leaves and retires, they've got money opened up for that. But I think that defense, even without Aaron Donald, is still the envy of 80% of the NFL.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to look at that. You have to look at this defense as this is going to be the only year it's going to be like this.
Probably
because
it's
Sue's on a
evaporate.
Sue's on a 1 year deal. I think they've got Marcus Peters is signed for 2. I think Talib signed for 2. But Sue at least is going. You either sign him or he's going to walk next year probably because he's gotten kind of a sweetheart deal. This is a prove it year. For him. If Donald isn't there, maybe you can afford to re-sign Sue if he's productive.
If he's proved it.
Yeah. So maybe that's a route to take. They should just hurry up and sign the guy so I don't have to talk about this anymore.
I know.
That would be best for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're going to be. I think we can both agree they're going to be just fine on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
I don't think either one of us is concerned about any of the head cases because they're all head cases on this team, right? Peters is a head case. Talib is a head case. Sue is a head case.
Yep.
They went out and specifically got all of these guys who have a history of, being knuckleheads.
Yep. Stomping on people, stealing people's chains,
running into
Peters
fight
does.
people.
Yeah, getting mad at people.
Having
throwing
Marshawn Lynch,
the ref's flag. That's
throwing the
ref's
flag.
Yep. Offense looks good too. I'm going to transition here.
Okay.
I like Cooper Kupp to improve this year.
Really?
He had a little bit of a drop issue last year, which he never really exhibited in college. I think he can fix that. Maybe a little bit of the rookie yips.
Wait a minute. So you're saying that in Eastern Washington University is different than playing in LA?
It is a little bit, yeah.
Okay, all right.
In the NFL in general.
Who'd have thunk it?
Different defense coming at you.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
I'm hoping. I think Kupp showed the talent. He showed the elusivity. There you go. I just put the syllable wrong, but it's the right word. Broke tackles, got yards after catch. I think he had like 10th overall in wide receiver yards after catch at like 5.6 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't just catching and falling out of bounds or falling down or getting tackled.
Nice.
Still happy with Robert Woods. I think Brandon Cooks is going to be good. You're not sure about that?
It's not the question. It's not a question of whether he's going to be good or not. It's a question of how much they paid him.
Okay.
I think they paid him too much.
Yeah.
It's a receiver. Why do you got to pay a receiver that much money? Why?
Because you have to.
No, you don't have to.
No, they don't.
I don't understand. First of all,
there were lesser talents that they could have gotten that probably could put up similar numbers in this system.
But they went out and traded for...
Cooks is a known quantity.
They traded for him.
Yeah.
And then they paid him money.
Yeah.
I don't understand, first of all, why you would trade for him based on what he did in New Orleans in his last year there, and then based on what he did in New England in his 1 year there.
New England was a good season.
What'd he get?
He had 1,000 yards and some touchdowns.
No, he didn't. He did not.
You forgot. We already talked about this like back when the trade happened, and you looked at it and you said, "Oh my God, I didn't know he was as good as he was."
You should look it up again because I don't believe you.
It was a quiet.
How did he have 1,000 yards? How many catches did he have? This is not a thing that actually happened.
All right, last year in New England, only 65 receptions on 114 targets. So he's got a little bit of that Sammy Watkins catch percentage thing.
Okay,
57%. But 1,082 yards, 7 touchdowns.
Fine, whatever.
With Breeze, he caught 78 and 84 passes. And those were 65 and 66 pass completions. Catch completion rate.
Which is more what you would want to see.
Yeah, and 9 and 8 touchdowns. So he had a little bit of a down year in New England even. So he's capable of more with a real quarterback like Goff. I mean, Brady... Whatever.
Right. Brady clearly...
Goff and Breeze
clearly
are the
worst of those two. So let me get this straight. Over his entire career in the NFL... He's had the ball thrown to him by Drew Brees, Tom Brady, and now Jared Goff.
Yeah, the 3 best quarterbacks you ever done seen.
Uh-huh. Well, thank goodness he doesn't play in Atlanta for Matt Ryan. That would just be terrible.
He's going to fall somewhere in between what he did there and what Sammy Watkins did there. Sorry, what Sammy Watkins did in Los Angeles and what Cooks did in New England. 800 yards, 7 touchdowns.
I guess my thing is I don't understand in Sean McVay's offense. I don't understand why you need that kind of a receiver that's going to cost
to get you 800 yards.
Yeah. I mean, what did Cup have?
Cup had 869 with 5 touchdowns on 62 catches.
And how much is he getting paid?
Probably like
exactly
180 million, 1,000.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You can get the production that you're probably going to get from Cooks for a much lower price.
You know what? I wonder if they had a full stable of draft picks, if they wouldn't have gone after Cooks, if they would have tried to go after Ridley or Pettis or DJ Chark or something like that, and been fine with that.
That's a good point, because they did give up draft picks to get Goff, right?
Yeah.
So they're still fighting through that. I think they gave up draft picks.
Goff and Watkins too. I think they gave up some picks for him.
Oh.
I don't remember what pick it was. Maybe it wasn't that high, but they didn't have a pick until the 3rd round this year, so they got rid of 2 picks.
Yeah. So, and I think they did fine by it. I think you would do it again, but it is you need to run into problems like this.
Let's transition so you get some time on Seattle. What do you got the Rams doing this year?
They're going to be fine. The Rams are going to be fine.
I'm at 14-2.
Oh my God! I've got them at 13-3.
Yeah, there you go.
They're going to be fine. I think they're probably going to walk away with the NFC West. I don't.
Things have gone terribly wrong if they don't win the division.
You know what? They actually, the downside, I guess, for the Rams this year is that if they don't win, 13, 14 games, it's disappointment this year, because they did so well last year with the team they had, and now all they've done is get better.
Yeah.
They've literally upgraded at defensive line, at defensive back, at wide receiver.
I think they can still win 12 or 11, and nobody will say, well, they shouldn't have won. They should have won more, because I have them winning games against Minnesota, Green Bay, and Philadelphia, which are all losable games.
I think
that takes them down to 11 wins.
If they win 11 games and lose the first round of the playoffs, it's a disappointing season.
They need to make it further in the playoffs.
Yeah. I think they need to make it.
That's the real key.
I think they probably need to make it to the conference championship this year. They've got a lot invested now. They really do.
Getting a first round bye will go a long way towards
and it could.
Doing that too.
It could. It just is terrible for them that they have to play playoff games in Oakland or in the LA Coliseum, because that place is terrible. That's a terrible venue.
And
That's
half of the fans are there for the other team.
They are. First of all, the LA Coliseum holds like 800 million people, doesn't it? I think the whole
700 million.
Something like that.
Take it easy.
All of the United States of America could quit their jobs and go live in the LA Coliseum. That's how big it is. As a football stadium, it's terrible. Could be worse. They could be the Chargers.
Yeah.
Okay.
Seattle Seahawks.
The Seattle Seahawks.
9-7 last year.
Let's just get started. The head coach is still Pete Carroll.
Last year.
New offensive coordinator.
He's getting fired after this year.
He's not getting fired after this year.
He's getting fired after this
year. New
offensive
coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer.
Trash.
Who's a retread from, where is he from?
Everywhere.
I think
he was in Los Angeles, New York.
I think he was in New York last.
Yeah.
Okay. And they brought back Ken Norton Jr.
as
defensive coordinator, and he's good.
Couldn't do anything in Oakland because who could?
He they fired him in Oakland.
They brought in How dare you not have a good defense with all these garbage players we've given you?
So I think, really, honestly, here's the thing: when you look at what the Seahawks did last year,
right,
and they lost at one time or another during the season. Like Richard Sherman had a season-ending injury. Cam Chancellor had what turned out to be a season-ending injury. Earl Thomas missed a good bunch of time. Bobby Wagner was out for a chunk of time. Michael Bennett was out for a chunk of time.
How come you're naming all of these all-pro defensive players?
Because they were all out.
Whoa.
Not available.
Jeez.
Yeah. So, yeah, they got injuried to death last year.
That is a good way to...
That's a good way to start.
Yeah.
And then also, on top of that, this whole not paying for offensive linemen finally came back and bit them right in the butt.
A little bit.
Honestly, let's be honest now. Anybody who has watched football ever, what's the first thing you say about football? Where do you start building your team? Maybe you start building a quarterback, but the second position you pick is left tackle. Offensive line. You build from the inside out, from the offensive and defensive lines, all the way to the outside of the field.
Yeah.
That's where you're supposed to spend the money. But instead of doing that, what the Seahawks did was they said, no, we're not going to pay for any offensive linemen.
They spent their money.
On the defensive side of the ball, with Michael Bennett, Richard Sherman. Who'd they pay? They paid Richard Sherman, they paid Earl Thomas, they paid Cam Chancellor, they paid Bobby Wagner, they paid Michael Bennett. They paid all those guys, and all those guys got hurt. So in the offseason, Richard Sherman left. They cut Richard Sherman. He went to sign in San Francisco. Michael Bennett got cut. He's in Philadelphia. Cam Chancellor retired. There was another linebacker, too, who retired.
Is Bobby done?
No, Bobby Wagner's back. He's the last one. Is it Frank Clark?
Clark is there. He's hurt right now.
Okay.
But he's a defensive lineman.
Earl Thomas is holding out.
Yeah.
And he's probably not going to play for the Seahawks.
He wants to be traded.
And they probably should trade him.
They're looking for something.
But because he's holding out, nobody's offering anything for him because clearly they can get him for less because he's not doing any good in Seattle anyway. Anyway, so they've had a purging.
Yeah.
From the defensive side of the ball, and as a result, there's a lot of opportunity for new players to come in. I am disturbed by this, but also, you know what? This is kind of where Pete Carroll came in. He came into the Seahawks situation.
It was a mess.
With rookies.
Yeah.
And that's how they built the defense to begin with. What is to say that they can't do that again?
Just start over.
This time. And
New cycle.
Look at who they got. They got Shaquille Griffith this year.
Shaquem
Griffith was in last year. He was the cornerback.
Shaquille was there. He's a sophomore.
Okay. Shaquem
is the one-handed rookie.
Very good. They brought him in linebacker, who's played very well in the preseason.
Yeah.
McDougald, they brought in to
Bradley
McDougald came in to play safety for them.
Right. He was kind of wore out his welcome in Miami last year, I believe, and was a good player.
No, McDougald was in Seattle last year.
Was it? Or was that the year before?
Maybe it was the year before. But he played very well in both free safety and strong safety. He played in both spots last year for the Seahawks and did really well.
Right. It was Tampa Bay, too.
Okay.
But yeah.
So I have faith in all those guys. They are going to need to find somebody up front, somebody to replace Michael Bennett. But
I have that guy.
Who's that guy?
The rookie, Rasheem Green, the young guy out of USC they drafted this year.
Oh, there you go.
He's getting a chance now with Frank Clark and Deion Jordan both sidelined right now, and he's shown really well. He's already got 3 sacks in the preseason.
Nice.
Granted, it's the preseason.
But
he's doing the sack thing.
It's a start.
You still got to do it.
It's a start.
He's getting a chance. He's young. He's a USC guy. You know Carroll likes him. Got that connection.
Even though he's been coaching in the NFL for the last 7 years.
Still, they got that bond.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I don't know. This guy looks good. If he works out like he's supposed to, and he doesn't have to do it all by himself because Deion Jordan and Frank Clark will be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
He can be there for a long time. He's only 21 years old.
That's a good start.
So I like that guy to kind of show up, and I think he's my player to watch for Seattle this year. Him and Shaquem. I cannot say. I always want to say Shaquem. He and Shaquem Griffin are my Seahawks that I don't hate.
It's a great story. Shaquem Griffin is a great story. A couple of things worry me about him. The first one is that he led the team in tackles in the second preseason game, and he had a bunch in the first preseason game as well. What worries me though is when I watch him make tackles, I don't know. He seems like he makes the tackle, but it's always after the ball carrier's down the field a few yards.
So his positioning isn't great. Or
Maybe.
Is that what you're saying?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I haven't
gotten to watch him yet.
I have a hard time understanding linebackers sometimes because a lot of it is scheme and a lot of it is what they're doing before they break on the ball.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time figuring out if he's supposed to be closer or if it's a scheme thing. It's
farther. By design that he's kind of playing with the guys in front of him.
Exactly. So I see Bobby Wagner do it, and Bobby Wagner seems to allow fewer yards.
Oh, okay.
But
he's got a quicker break on the ball, if nothing else, then.
And it makes sense because, he's a Pro Bowl player.
Yeah.
So it would make sense that he's better than the rookie who just came in,
yeah.
right? Okay. So, yeah, but point is they have some guys there who are showing some potential. And, they've done this before. Pete Carroll and GM...
John Snyder,
thank you. I just lost his name. Pete Carroll and John Snyder have built a team before. So they know how to do it.
Yeah.
And a lot of what the defensive players were saying last year is Pete Carroll lost us. We've heard all of his stories now. So we've kind of tuned him out. Well, now he's got a whole new batch of kids, and he can tell all the old stories again, and it'll be great.
What do they do now that Earl Thomas is gone? essentially. Do they have somebody who can step in and be at least effective?
McDougald is who they want to play there.
They want to put him there.
And they've got a couple of options.
I'm looking at Delano Hill right now, who they drafted in the 3rd round last year, who played 15 games. He doesn't have a lot of tackles, so I'm assuming he played a small number of snaps.
Yeah, I don't remember him right off, so I don't. There's a spot in the secondary that's going to be open.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of where they want to play McDougald.
Okay.
If they want to play him closer to the line or
free or strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or back farther.
So are you happy with the way the defense is constructed still, though most of the big names that you're so used to over the past few years in Seattle are gone?
I would be happier if they were all healthy and still playing in Seattle.
Right, obviously.
That would be the
even though they're
best
old
case.
guys now.
They're really not.
I guess, no.
That's the thing. Richard Sherman's at least 30.
Yeah.
He's got 4 or 5
Earl is
years
still
left.
a coveted... And
He's
Chancellor, he only had 7 years in the league, right?
Yeah.
And then the neck injury took him out.
Although the way he plays, I'm surprised he lasted this long. That guy was just a monster.
Yeah. Maybe Derwin shouldn't play that way.
Michael Bennett is the same way. I mean, these guys, they're getting older. Well, yeah, they are. They're all hitting 30.
Yeah.
But, in today's day and age,
the
guys
defensive
played
guys
at 35.
play till,
So...
What about the offense? Sounds like the defense is still... It's not what it was, but it's still a reliable
It's going to be... Well, it's going to be one of those things. It could break either way.
It could fall apart.
It could break either way. Let's be honest now. It could fall apart completely.
I guess any team's unit could.
But there's so many unknowns here. And as a Seahawks fan, I'm willing to give Pete Carroll the benefit of the doubt. I have never given Pete Carroll the benefit. I have always thought differently than Pete Carroll and John Snyder, and I have always been wrong. So, you know what?
You've learned your lesson.
I have, and now I'm 100% behind him, which probably means this team's going to be bad. But let's talk about the offense.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson.
Nothing to worry about.
I am going to go out on a limb here. It's not even a limb. I'm going to go out on sturdy ground and say he's the best post-snap quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Bar none. Nobody does more after the snap than Russell Wilson. Best quarterback after the snap. Without him last year, the Seahawks have no offense.
No.
None whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a good thing that they've got the mobilest of quarterbacks.
And he's smart about it, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, because Aaron Rodgers is probably the one guy that you would say could probably survive in this offense. But I don't think he survives in this offense.
Not last year.
No.
Not last year with that line. I don't think there's any other quarterback in the league that could have survived behind that offense. That offensive line was so bad last year. And thank goodness they steal away Dwayne Brown from the Texans because the one shining spot after he gets over to Seattle is like the one thing you don't have to worry about on the line.
Yeah.
And really it didn't matter because they would just like go around him anyway because there's only one of them, right? He can only block one person at a time. So it doesn't matter. This year the offensive line has been upgraded.
Yeah, so they say.
Well, I think it has. I think you can objectively say it's better. At the very least, Afadi's he's the same guy. He's the right tackle. They've got George Fant, who was the starting left tackle at the beginning of last season, who hurt his knee. He's back over. They're putting him at right tackle. They're trying to train him up over there.
Yeah, because Afadi is terrible.
He's not great, but he's got, he's just not great.
I'm hearing he's terrible. I'm hearing Fant is moving to the right because...
They're putting him there to compete?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they've got Dwayne over on the left.
They still got Justin Britt as center.
Yeah. The one...
He's solid.
Yeah.
He's solid.
They picked up DJ Fluker.
And they're going to put him in at guard.
Right.
From the Giants. And he's not a world beater, but he's better than what they had there last year.
He's been there and done this before.
Yeah. So they've got... What they have this year, they didn't have last year, is quality NFL players. Mm-hmm. Not Pro Bowl level.
No.
Just... NFL level players.
Better than Seattle level of players.
You know what? This is like baseball or hockey. When you see guys who are signed and they're not minor league guys. These are NHL guys. These are MLB guys. He's not up from AAA. He's not being brought in from Topeka. No, he's a big league guy.
Yeah.
So
it's good news.
The offensive line has pros now. That's good. That's a start. They got rid of Jimmy Graham. I say good riddance because Jimmy Graham is trash. Although this year he's gonna go off in Green Bay, isn't he? That's gonna be. Anyway, they got rid of Luke Wilson, which makes me sad. But I understand you don't want to pay him.
Yeah.
But they do have a couple of guys at tight end. I can't think of who their names are.
Well, they picked up Ed Dixon, who had that one really good game last year for Carolina when he had 200 yards.
This spider, I think, it's huge.
Holy shit!
Good sized.
I want to kill that, but I don't have a full roll of toilet paper to kill it. I don't know about the tight end position this year, JB. I don't know. You might not have liked Jimmy Graham, but and Luke Wilson didn't really do much, but Ed Dixon has never done much. And he's their big signing in the tight end game. Other names I'm seeing are Nick Vanette, Will Dissly, Tyrone Swoops, and Kyle Carter. And I don't know if you follow the NFL or not, but if you don't, none of those guys are anybody that you should ever have heard of.
So what you're saying is that there's not much hope at tight end?
Ugh.
And what I was seeing in the preseason games was smoke and mirrors.
It was because it was the preseason.
Son of a gun. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
That sounds right.
But I get the feeling that Ed Dixon guy is going to be logging a lot of the snaps, at least in the pass game. And maybe Russell Wilson will do something with him because he's Russell Wilson.
You know what? There is some hope, though.
Because that was Cam Newton and Joe Flacco that have been throwing Ed Dixon the ball before. You and I will both say are not great quarterbacks to be throwing footballs.
Maybe you want some better quarterbacks, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good news is Doug Baldwin's still there. Tyler Lockett's decent. They picked up Brandon Marshall, who's a Pro Bowler 10 years ago.
Yeah, 10 years ago he was fine.
Great. That's great.
He had a great year last year in the New York Jets organization. Is that?
Yeah.
Or was he with the Giants last year?
Sorry. He was with the Jets prior.
That's right. And he quit after OBJ went down, didn't he?
Yeah, basically.
He just said, if he's not playing, I'm going to...
foot.
Me too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also added Jaron Brown, John Brown's brother.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They were both on Arizona for the past couple of... I keep looking down for that spider. They were both on Arizona for the past couple of years, and they both jumped ship.
Oh, it's going to be a long year in Seattle.
Rashad Penny? Yay or nay?
Chris Carson? Yay.
Yeah?
And also Chris Carson.
Okay. Well, I meant, do you like the Rashad Penny pick?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Because I think in today's NFL, you need more than one back. I really do think you need more than one back. I know there's guys like Todd Gurley out there, and
it's always good to have a lead back that you can rely on, but
if
you can get by with two guys, why not?
I think it does provide a little more balance, and it gives you more options.
Yeah.
So I am all for it, and I think Penny is good, and I think Chris Carson's been running like he's scared to lose his job, which is great.
That's always good. Competition
team,
always brings out the best in some guys.
So yeah, I think that part of it's good. I am sad that John Ryan got cut. He's the punter.
Yeah, that was kind of strange.
Well, he's been there 10 years, and they got a rookie.
But wasn't he amazing still?
He's pretty good, yeah. He
got picked up almost immediately.
No, he did, and the Seahawks did good by him by cutting him now instead of waiting until the deadline, because he had a chance to go catch on with the team.
They saw that punter that they really liked and had to get him.
He did win the best college punter award in last year wherever he's from.
So
they got him in the fifth round. It's one of those things.
Fifth round for a punter is like
one of
picking
those
a kicker in fantasy in the fifth round.
It's not quite. It's not
John
that bad.
Schneider is an idiot.
Maybe it's that bad.
This team is terrible.
They also ditched the Blair Walsh Project.
Yeah.
And they picked up Sebastian Janikowski.
Yeah, man.
Like we were talking about before.
Yeah.
I think John Ryan got booted because he'd been in the league 10 years and they didn't want to pay two guys a veteran salary. They wanted to only pay one.
That makes sense. They need that money.
That was Sebastian Janikowski.
Okay.
So I get it.
It's the more important of the two.
Also, I don't want to say this too loudly. I think John Ryan has lost a little bit of leg.
Oh, okay.
He can still boot the ball deep, but his hang time is not what it could be. And if you saw the second preseason game, you saw him outkick his coverage a little bit. And it used to be that ball would hang a little bit longer. And because it didn't, it allowed a big return. So
did I read that whoever the new punter is, Dickinson, something like that? Do you know his name?
I don't. No.
I think I read that he's been leading. I think this is one area where you can extrapolate preseason numbers onto the regular season and expect that they hold true. Mm-hmm. I think he's been leading the preseason league, in punt net yards.
Okay.
So apparently they have actually found somebody who will set up good field position for this team and kick some boomers.
Man, I hope so, because John Ryan is a vet, and he had done it so well for so long in Seattle that it's tough to see him go.
Michael Dixon. Anyway, Janikowski's there. I think that has the potential to go terribly.
Oh, why would you say that? Look, here's the thing. At the end of the day, they can always bring Blair Walsh back in. They can always go out because nobody else is going to sign that guy.
Yeah. I think they go back to Jason Myers, personally.
Who?
That's the guy that lost to Janikowski in the competition and was the Jacksonville kicker for a couple of seasons.
You're right. Much better choice. Much better choice.
So what do you got him finishing?
10-6. Stop it. 10-6.
I have him at 5-11, which is generous.
It could go. You know what?
No, it could go well. I don't think they get 10 wins, but if the offensive line has improved like you say it has, I don't think Russell Wilson necessarily needs name players on his offense to make things happen because he hasn't had name players.
Yeah, he hasn't. So
he shops in the generic aisle.
Let me just ask you this.
Okay.
What have they done to become worse?
I feel like their defense is full of question marks, which is a thing. And
okay.
I'm not convinced that their offensive line has gotten any better. They lost Jimmy Graham and Luke Wilson and replaced it with Ed Dixon and a bunch of guys that you've never heard of. It's still just Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett on the offense or on the receiving core. And Chris Carson was fine last year, but they still didn't have anybody that approached 600 yards on the ground. And Rashad Penny is a running back from a small school who has trouble picking up blitzes.
Okay, here's what I'm going to say to all of that.
Who cares?
First of all, they didn't get worse on the offensive side of the ball at all because Jimmy Graham didn't do anything for the Seahawks anyway.
Except cast 10 touchdown passes and
nothing.
900 yards.
He did nothing. Did he catch 900? He wasn't 900 yards last year.
I closed my computer, but I say he did.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Jimmy Graham was notoriously unreliable for the Seahawks.
Yeah.
He didn't catch a lot of balls in
He was a
crucial
huge
situations.
disappointment.
Luke Wilson was...
he was there when you needed him.
He was a solid contributor. It's disappointing to lose him and to replace him with Ed Dixon and a cast of characters.
Yeah.
But honestly, the offensive line hasn't gotten worse, and the receiving core hasn't gotten any worse.
That's good.
And the running back stable hasn't gotten any worse. And defensively, you know what? They lost a bunch of big name guys. A lot of those guys weren't playing last year anyway.
Yeah.
So, how have they gotten worse? Point to me where they're worse now, because I don't think they are.
Also, Brian Schottenheimer is a ridiculously bad offensive coordinator.
That worries me a lot. I'll be honest with you. When they said they got Brian Schottenheimer to come in, all I could think of was, why in the world would you go buy a retread coach?
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me at all. I'm really disappointed they picked him up. It seems like there are a lot of good offensive minds right now, and why would you pick that one? It'll be fine.
Yeah.
It'll be fine. Russell Wilson's just going to have to run for his life some more. That's just going to be how that goes.
And part of me is just, I will always be rooting for the Seahawks to fail.
Why would you do that? They're so good.
Can't do it.
Fine.
Can't do it.
Whatever.
I gave you that I like a couple of those guys on the defense. Shaquem and that Reese. I forget his name. My player to watch on Seattle, whose name I can't remember.
On the front, on the defensive front.
Yeah.
The third round pick.
Behind Frank Clark and
Deion Jordan. I don't even know who that is. So
that was the AFC and the NFC West. Next week, you would think, with the fantasy draft coming up, that we would talk about fantasy football, but we're not going to do that. You have other fantasy football podcasts that you listen to
that are quite frankly better than what we have.
We're going to talk about other stuff.
Yes.
So we'll be back next week with all sorts of fun stuff, including the Jalen Ramsey saga and all the quarterback ratings,
which is going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
As Jalen Ramsey put out a whole thing. And I feel a little bit bad because the Half a Bird Sports Show did a whole piece on this.
Did they?
Yeah, and I actually agree with a lot of what they said, and I'm going to piggyback on some of this stuff.
Okay, I haven't listened to anything, so I'm going to do snap judgments on all 32 quarterbacks.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
And we'll have some other stuff too.
All right. So until next week.
I'm TK.
I'm JB.
Goodbye.